And we are live. Welcome to the NFL Pick'em Strategy Show, brought to you by us, Stokastic, with the promo code CELEBRATE. Get the NFL Max package from now all the way until the Super Bowl for $179. Link in the description, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. I'm Josh Engelman, by the way. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engelman. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Christmas coming soon. Get the big day on Wednesday. We got no basketball on Tuesday, but we've got a full day of NFL for today. And Liverpool going to pick up a big dub at 11:30. That's why I'm dressed head to toe in the Liverpool gear. You guys know it. Happens just about every Sunday. Can't help myself. What am I going to do? Wear a football jersey? Yuck. Kidding. Maybe we'll get some Liverpool lines while we build out some pick'em cards, because that is what we are going to do today for the next half hour or so. We are going to use the Odd Shopper Portfolio EV tool to build cards on PrizePicks, Underdog if we can, Sleeper if we can, Better if we can. We're going to hit what we have available to us right now. PrizePicks usually goes pretty well for us. Based on what I see now, I think we might even be able to build two separate cards, NFL only, and then hit a smorgasbord of different sports. At least that's the way that things are looking for today. I hope you guys are having a good weekend so far. I'm guessing a lot of you are starting season-long playoffs today, so good luck to you guys. You best ball crazies. You guys have that going on. That is not my scene. That seems stressful. See, it just seems like you have all these great drafts. You wait like whatever 15 weeks, and then slowly but surely it just beats you down over and over. I don't like it. What I do like though is building awesome pick'em cards using the Portfolio AV tool. So chat, just gonna say hi. Hope you guys are having fun. We're gonna be here for the next 25 minutes. When I'm done, you guys will get Greg at 9:30. He's going to build you guys some lineups for today's slate using our single lineup simulator, the greatest tool that we have on the DFS side. At 10 o'clock, that's when it all really gets started. An NFL deeper dive, 1.5 hours, 90 straight minutes. Laffy and Ben breaking down every single game. If you guys have a question about a game today, they are absolutely going to hit it. And then we go into live before lock from 11:30 until 1 o'clock. We're here. 4 straight hours of coverage. Doesn't change. Every weekend is the same. Open up your YouTube. Go to our channel. 9 a.m. You don't have to move till 1 p.m. Doesn't get any better than that. It doesn't. What's going to get really good is building out this PrizePicks card. Jordan has it pulled up on the screen right now. This is the PrizePicks entry builder. And just to start, we're going to take the best possible card we can just to show you guys how quickly we can do this. You pull up this link. You click the generate button on the screen. The top 6 plays available on PrizePicks immediately populate. We have a 19% EV. That is massive value. You don't want to leave this kind of stuff on the table. All you have to do after you click that generate button is click the bet now button. It immediately takes you to PrizePicks. It populates your entire card and you enter your however much you want to put down on it. I'm doing the classic 40 to win 1,000. And it's in already. What did that take? 10 seconds? 15 seconds to go from nothing to immediately getting that card placed. The more time you take between doing these tasks, the bigger the chance is that you're going to miss out on some of the value that existed. You don't want to do that. So I'm already copying the link and it is in chat. That's the best part about these pick'em sites. We could all win together. DFS, we're all shooting for the same goal. Everybody wants to win. Only one person can do it. Obviously, you can dupe your lineup and chop it, but you guys get the principle of this. In this case, we could all play this PrizePicks card and we could all take it down. Demarcus Robinson over 15.5 receiving yards. Alperen Şengün under 5.5 assists. Danny Wolf less than 10.5 rebounds. Trey Donaldson less than 1.5 threes made. Akbaji to not block a shot. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know how in the world to say this dude's name from the NHL side. Zibanejad. Yeah, I shouldn't even have tried that. Mika, definitely the first name, definitely the one I should have went with. Well, let's hope he doesn't get a point. That's how quickly you can put down the best possible card we have on any one of these pick'em sites. I think we should try to carve out a nice little NFL card. So let's do it. We'll pull that back up, clear everything out. Jordan, let's filter directly to NFL. There's more than enough value here to build out a nice NFL card because you guys are here for the NFL, and that's what we should hit. Big facts. Zibanejad. Mika Zibanejad? I think I got that pretty quickly. All right, so we're going to go and grab that Demarcus Robinson play once again, over 15.5 receiving yards. The second best play that we have here, Mike Evans, over 5.5 receptions. Alan Lazard, over 21.5 receiving yards. Breece Hall, under 23.5 receiving yards. Trey Tucker, under 31.5 receiving yards. And Geno Smith, over 227.5 passing yards. Those 6 plays create a 12% EV card. This is huge. This is really big value. And this is what you're getting when you're using OddsShopper in the Portfolio EV tool. The edge that you're able to acquire by hitting all of these pick'em sites as these plays come up, really big numbers. Bigger than you even see on most of the individual bets that you'll get on the sportsbook side. This is even bigger. This is the easiest way to me to build out that bankroll. Now, you're not going to hit 6-0 at every single time, but when you do, they're paying you healthy payouts, 25x, in fact. So I'm going to click the Bet Now button, same as we did before. I'm immediately going to put in the same bet size that we had before. At least I hope I am. I'm trying to. My computer is being quite weird. Oh, there we go. Did I miss one? Jordan, do we have 5 or 6 in there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did I accidentally delete one? Oh, there we go. Now, when I loaded it up, only 5 of them were there. I think I accidentally closed out of the Breece Hall pick and gave myself, because I entered the 40 and it was only giving me 400. I was like, that's not what I'm looking for here at all. So another 6-pick card immediately in. Link in the chat. You guys can tail this one along with us. Wouldn't it be fun if this card that we built right now goes for 25x and we all hit it to start the day? It's all a big celebration. We're not chopping anything. We all get the 25x. And it all comes straight from Portfolio EV and the OddsShopper tool. It's the best thing going on the sports betting side and on the pick'em side right now. We take a market-based approach to beating the books. We're aggregating all of the information that we have. We're creating our best line, and then we can compare that to everything that exists. And then we have value across the board. All of it, easily digestible. Maybe you're trying to put in just regular bets on sportsbooks. You could open up the Portfolio EV tool, see a list of 20 bets, and just click a mass entry button, and you'll be able to have all of those bets loaded to the sportsbook that has the best line. It's that quick. It's that fast. It doesn't leave you in any sort of situation where you can't get to it fast enough. This couldn't move any faster. This is the way to corner the market on value. And we're seeing Greg do it every single day in his NBA Bankroll Challenge, up $580 or something since the beginning of the NBA season. It's 40-something days. If you can watch that and see Greg start with $100 and turn it into what he's turned it into over the first basically 2 months of the NBA season, that should sell everything to you. If that doesn't register, I don't know what I could possibly say to make it register. That is showing you how good this tool is. But for now, we're getting back to the pick'em cards. We've got prize picks in. Let's cross our fingers here and hope we get something for Underdog. Jordan, I think it's been weeks since we've hit an Underdog card. And I don't mean hit like succeed. I mean hit like have the ability to build one. And we are actually going to be able to build a Underdog card today. It doesn't look like it's going to be strictly NFL, but there is a 4% EV Underdog card available to us at this moment. Jordan, if you want to do me a favor, switch the power play on the left-hand side to flex and then hit that generate button. Let's take those top 5 plays. 4% EV. Let's see if I could do this again. Mika Zibanejad. Got it. He's coming back for the Underdog play. So he's going to be pretty important for us. We're going to need him in both situations under 0.5 points. So we need no success. I don't like cheering against Rangers. They are my fake favorite team, but we'll take what we can get. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, over 30.5 receiving yards. It feels nice to be building out an Underdog card, if I'm being honest. This feels like it's been weeks coming. Sam Bennett under points. Going back to the hockey streets. You know me, classic hockey fan. Mike Evans over 5.5 receptions, so we're doubling that one up as well. And finally, Trey Tucker under 31.5 receiving yards. So looks like we're hitting a couple of the same ones across PrizePicks and Underdog. I don't mind that at all. Standard issue, if you go 5-0 on Underdog on a flex play, that's 10x your money. If you go 4-1, that's going to be 2.5x your money. So we can try and pick up a nice 10x here. And if we do happen to run hot on some of these guys, that's going to be wins across both sides. Blackjack Lloyd says, let's build out some lineups instead. Blackjack Lloyd definitely didn't listen to the beginning of the show, where I explained that that will start happening at 9:30 with Greg Ehrenberg. Back to the PrizePicks EV tool, or the portfolio EV tool. Can we get anything on Sleeper? This one looks a little thin. I'm thinking like 1 or 3% EV. Josh, you look like you were a big NHL 94 guy. You're almost right. You're almost right. Not that I didn't play it, but I was a much bigger NHLPA 93 guy, which I feel like doesn't get talked about nearly as much as it should. Brian Leach, Messier, Mike Gartner. I ran that Rangers team into the ground. So we have a 3% EV showing up for Sleeper. It's James Cook under 2.5 receptions, Kendrick Bourne under 2.5 receptions, DeAndre Swift over 1.5 receptions, Jake Ferguson over 3.5 receptions, Patrick Taylor under 1.5 receptions. 3% EV is a little lower than what I want to grab here today. I don't want to tell you guys not to take it if these are interesting plays to you, but I also can't share a link into chat. Oh, speaking of sharing a link, I totally forgot to share the link to the Underdog card. I want you guys to be able to come along for the ride on that one too. And let me know on Twitter if you guys are tailing this and we pick up a dub. Let me know on Twitter. Can I not share this now? So once it's in, you can't share it again? Yeah. I don't have the share link anymore. I have it after right when you put it in, but I can't. That's my bad, guys. That's my bad. Anyway, so a 3% EV on Sleeper. Since I can't share the link and I'm not trying to just grind out this little 3%er, not that there's anything wrong with any sort of positive value, I think we're going to kick this one to the curb and see what we get at Better. And I fully expect to have a sizable payout on Better. They are usually a little thinner than I thought. We are going back to our boy. It's another 3% EV, but I can share the Better link. And I think that would be fun for us to get this one in as well. Now, no web app, which is usually pretty annoying. So the first person that we need to put in, stop me if you've heard this name before, Mika Zibanejad. Got it. I got it. rolls off the tongue now for me. Under 0.5 points. We've got, all right, no other NHL plays, so I can go to the NBA and get O'Shea Akbaji to not get a block. That one sounds familiar. Trey Murphy, under 7.5 rebounds plus assists. And then we get to the NFL for Zach Charbonnet, over 17.5 rushing yards. And Daniel Bellinger, over 17.5 receiving yards. 10x, this is going to be a lot like Underdog. 10x if you go 5-0, 2.5x if you go 4-1. Let's get this card in, let's get it shared, and let's get everybody trying to tail and win this money. God bless MacBooks for allowing me to copy this link from my phone and have it on my clipboard. It's incredible that that's a thing. But there it is. So we've got two separate PrizePicks cards with massive positive EV already dropped into the channel and a tiny but not insignificant EV on Better. And me having forgot to give you guys the link for the Underdog card, but we did get it built. Now, I know I'm talking a lot about this portfolio EV tool. I want to show you guys why we're so confident. So Jordan, if you could pull up the portfolio results tab, this is the biggie for me. We have it tracked for everything from all of last year and this year, all of our recommendations. And when you see these numbers, they're going to be startling for how big they are, honestly. But that should let you know how big of a sample we have for how confident we are in this tool. Let's say, for example, we just want to look at NFL bets. So you could pick the NFL in this dropdown. Any sports book works for me, any bet categories, any bet types. We don't even have to do anything like that. Let's even do current season. I haven't looked at this in a while. And let's say we want to be safe, so to speak. Let's set the odds shopper rating to 5. So every single recommended bet that we have out of Odds Shopper gets a rating. We give it a rating. The higher the number, the better it is for you. I'm going to set it at 5. If you only want to take anything that shows up at a 5 or higher in the NFL for this season, we preview these results. It's a 5% ROI across about 1,000 recommended bets at that point. If we look back at the previous season, 5.4% ROI across 10,000 bets. So right away, NFL fan, if you're just hitting the things that we recommend, the portfolio EV tool, 5 odd shopper rating or higher, you would have returned 5% on your money across all of those bets. Maybe you're not as much of an NFL fan. You are watching this show, but maybe you're an NBA fan. Same situation. 5 odds shopper rating last year for NBA bets. 9.4% ROI across 23,000. No, it is 25. I'm just bad at math. 25,000 bets. A 17% ROI on just 3-point props. 10% ROI on just assist props. 7% ROI on just points props. Let's say you want to be even more safe and you go to a 10 odds shopper rating, just the absolute nut bets that show up. Pause. 10 odds shopper rating across all of the recommended NBA plays last year. North of 8,000 recommended bets and an 11.7% ROI. Even if you are a $5 bettor, if you bet anything that showed up last year that had a 5 or a 10 odd shopper rating or higher, a $5 bettor would have been up $4,500 by the time the NBA season ended. That is insane return on your money. If you're a $5 bettor just this year, we've had 2 months of NBA. This started at the end of October. If you just took 10 odd shopper rating or higher, we're talking about 2,100 bets, a 7.5% ROI, And that $5 better, if you placed all of those bets, you'd be up over 825 bucks. And you can slice and dice this data however you want. But here's the coolest part of all of it. And this is the easiest thing you can do. Let's say you did want to look at those NBA bets, but let's say you only play on DraftKings and FanDuel, and we'll say Bet365. So you can choose those sports books at the top of the screen. Check those boxes off. We'll leave our odd shopper rating at 10 or higher. You can preview those results just to see what gets hashed out. This is where it gets awesome. You can save this portfolio. So you can sort through all of the data, figure out the different angles you want to hit, different like wedges of bets that have good returns, different sports books if that's what you want to use. You can save that portfolio. You could just simply call it like NBA, DK, FanDuel, 365, whatever you want to call it. And you can say leave notifications on. If you save this portfolio, now anytime we have a bet that matches the criteria that you set for that portfolio, you will get a notification on your computer or your phone. Immediately can click on that notification and get that bet placed. And it's not just one portfolio. You could have multiple. You could have one set up for specifics for the NFL, one set up for specifics in the NBA, one for the NHL, one for college football, whatever you're looking for. You can carve out every single one of those things, get notifications the moment a bet is available to you. I have no idea why everybody wouldn't want to do this. All of the data is here to show you how profitable this has been to date. We're talking close to 2 years now. And the ease of which you guys can place bets, I can't think of a scenario where it could ever be any easier. Pop up on your phone, button click, straight to a sports book, enter your wager size, done. It's that easy. And you could even get the Portfolio EV tool for a nice little discount right now if you want to. Jordan, pull that graphic up on the old screen here. Let's let these guys know what they can get with the Portfolio EV tool, because it's the Christmas season. We wanted to give a little back to the community, and we want to get you guys in the door, because normally we're talking about a price point here of 99 bucks. Not right now, folks. Gift EV is the promo code. You could use this up to Thursday, December 26th. So you have until the day after Christmas. But if you use this promo code, everything that we just talked about, all of those pick'em builders, all of that historical data, the entire table and notifications, all that stuff, the full sports book list, whatever you're looking for on the sports betting side, using OddsShopper and the Portfolio EV tool, $49.99. This is 50% off for the next couple days. This is what we want you guys to do for Christmas. There are so many betting opportunities coming up. NHL is in full swing. NBA is in full swing. There's plenty of college football playoff games left to go, plus the rest of the bowl games. The NFL isn't going anywhere anytime soon. College basketball is in effect. EPL is going on. All of these sports and more show up in this tool, and you can get it for half off right now. Maybe, just maybe, half off is still a little bit more than you're looking for. And I can understand that. $50 is still a pretty sizable price tag, although, as I mentioned, Greg started with a $100 bankroll in the bankroll challenge. He would have been paying this one off, no problem. If this is still outside the realm for you, we do have one additional option. There is a link in the description of this video and one at the top of the screen on OddsShopper, where you can get a month of the Portfolio EV tool for free by signing up through one of our partners. Whether you can sign up at a pick'em site, if that's legal in your state, or if you want to sign up for a sports book, if that's legal in your state, and you've never signed up at those sites before, you can click the link at OddsShopper. You're going to get some sort of bonus from the affiliate, whether that's bonus bets or a deposit bonus or free plays, something like that. And you'll get a month of our tool. It won't cost you anything. The only money you'll outlay in this is whatever you determine you would like to deposit at that site. So if $49.99 didn't work, see if you want to get in for a month for no cost. Load up one of those sports books, and maybe at least based on what we've seen via Greg, by the end of that month, you might have enough to go ahead and grab another month of the Odd Shopper Portfolio EV tool. So that's where we stand for today. 2 PrizePicks cards, an Underdog card, and a better card. We hit everything we could possibly want to hit. And now, for Troy Taylor, who doesn't seem to be happy for being here, I hope Greg just does the same damn show just to annoy you. But for all of the rest of you that want to go ahead and build some lineups for this lovely NFL slate, you are in luck. Greg Ehrenberg coming up next, building lineups in the single lineup sim, letting you guys know where to go before we get to the NFL deeper dive. Have fun, everybody. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to say. I'll go Merry Christmas. That's better for me. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done it yet. Enjoy the rest of your week. Have a safe holiday. Enjoy your families. See you guys next Sunday for this exact same show. Troy Taylor, make sure you get here at 9. I'm going to do it again. Peace.
I'm not. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the lineup building portion of the NFL Live Before Lock block here. And I'm cold. It is very cold here. It is currently 12 degrees where I'm at in New Jersey. I have drafty windows in my office. I'm just trying not to freeze here. So if you guys could do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, because I'm risking frostbite to build some NFL DFS lineups with you guys. So liking the video, subscribing to the channel goes a long way to helping keep our content free. And if you are looking to sign up for the tools here that we have at Stokastic, now is the time. We had a Millie Maker winner last week, Aaron Costa, who's just been killing it using the Stokastic Sims. He won $1 million. And then also, we've got the holidays upcoming. So those things put together, we decided to put together a promo. If you guys sign up for our Sims Max package with the promo code CELEBRATE, if you use the link down below in the YouTube description box, that link, it's already got the promo code loaded in there, but CELEBRATE, that is the promo code. It is going to get you more than 50% off for our Sims Max package through the remainder of the season, because normally this is going to run you $200 per month. But with this promo code, you are getting nearly 2 full months of access of our Sims Max package all the way through the Super Bowl for less than the cost of 1 month subscription. So sign up with that promo code if you're a new user, get yourself a discount, and come build some lineups with us for the rest of the season. And we're going to build some right here on the show. And yeah, interesting slate. Bye weeks, they are done. And if you guys have any questions for me over the course of the show, you can leave a super chat. If you are in the Stokastic Discord channel, I'll be on the lookout for any questions that you guys have. So anybody that gets a subscription to the site, any of the packages all comes with access to Discord. But Jordan, let's start here by looking at the player projections. And guys, my hands are so cold. Can you feel them? They're cold. I'm cold. My feet are even colder. Let's start at the quarterback. Let's look at the top projected players at each position. And at QB, just 2 players projected for north of 20 fantasy points. That's Josh Allen, who is just lapping the field project for 24 fantasy points. Now, with that said, he is not going to be popular because he is super, super expensive. $8,700 for Josh Allen in a matchup against the New England Patriots. We also got the report earlier today that apparently he has a broken hand. Not that it's that big of a concern. It's his left hand. Apparently, he's been playing with it for pretty much the entire season. But either way, Josh Allen, $8,700, a little bit difficult to get all the way up to. That's why he is lower owned, despite the fact that he's been killing it as of late. Then you got Joe Burrow at $7,500, projected for right around 22 fantasy points. And then just under 20 fantasy points in the 19 fantasy point range, we've got Jaden Daniels, Kyler Murray, Anthony Richardson, and Jalen Hurts. So next, let's look at the ownership at the quarterback position, Jordan. All right. And at the QB position, you see most of the popular quarterbacks on the cheaper end. And that's for multiple reasons. One of it being there really isn't a ton of value this week, at least certainly not as much as you would expect at this point in the season. But also, you just got a lot of really cheap quarterbacks in pretty good spots, like Anthony Richardson. We know his rushing upside, $5,400. He's 12.5% owned. You got Michael Penix. He is only $4,500, making his first career start against the New York Giants. Kirk Cousins appears out the door in Atlanta. Maybe if there's an injury to Michael Penix, they'll have to dust Kirk Cousins off. But based on the reports that we've seen, Kirk Cousins done in Atlanta, and he's expected to be cut after the season. But you see here that there's no real crazy high ownership at the quarterback position. The next most popular guys, it's Aiden O'Connell at $5,100. It's Kyler Murray at $6,100. It's Brock Purdy at $6,300. Caleb Williams at $5,500. So all of the more popular quarterbacks, all on the cheap end. That is the easiest way to go about building some lineups that project well on a points per dollar sense for this slate. If we go and look at the running backs next, Jordan, we do have a handful of pay-up running backs that are projecting really well. And Chase Brown, he's expensive now. For the longest time, he was somebody who were able to roster and, well, starting at almost a punt price, and then slowly got up to the 5K range and the 6K range. Now he's all the way up to $7,700. And he is our second highest projected running back on the slate. The only running back with higher projection than Chase Brown, it's Jahmyr Gibbs. He's in a good matchup against the Bears. It's also a good game script for a running back. And on top of that, there's no David Montgomery in Detroit anymore. So we're going to have Gibbs taking on Chicago. And I assume we're going to see as big of a workload as we've seen from Gibbs in any game this entire season because of the injury to David Montgomery. Other running backs project from north of 20 fantasy points. Bijan Robinson against the Giants. If you do want to get a little bit of leverage by pivoting to the Falcons' run game over the pass game, I do think that's a viable way to go, especially in this matchup against the Giants. And then Saquon Barkley at $8,300, just over 22 fantasy points for him. Now, if we go to the ownership, Jordan, you guys will see big ownership on Jahmyr Gibbs. No massive surprise with David Montgomery out. He's pulling nearly 50% ownership. He's the most popular player on the entire slate by a really wide margin. The only player who has even half the ownership that Gibbs has, it is Chase Brown at 28% owned. Then we got Connor at 21% owned at running back. Chuba Hubbard, he's 16% owned after he was a big dud last week, and nobody else more than 12% owned. You got Bijan Robinson at 12%, Jonathan Taylor, 10% for him against the Tennessee Titans. But you see here, no real cheap running backs. They're pulling a lot of ownership. Another reason to keep in mind why it was that the cheaper quarterbacks are popular is because there aren't really great cheap running backs to be going to. Wide receiver next, and more or less is going to be a lot of the same sort of deal as there was at the running back position, where there isn't really cheap punt plays to be going to at wide receiver. We've got two guys projected for north of 22 fantasy points. That's Puka Nacua and Jamar Chase, and neither of them massively popular, 12 and 13% owned. Then you got Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, all fairly expensive wide receivers. I guess Tyreek Hill at $6,900. That's kind of the exception, but he's not exactly a value either. And then if we go and look at the ownership at the position, there's really, really not that much as far as popular guys. Nobody's more than 18% owned. You got Jacoby Myers just under that mark, 17.94% projected ownership. Neighbors at $6,100. You got Juwan Jennings at $5,900, DK Metcalf at $5,500. Those are your four most popular wide receivers, all of them around 15% owned. And you see that the guys who are the most popular at the position, it's the mid-range. There are pay-up wide receivers like Puka Nacua and Jamar Chase that look good, but they don't look as good as the pay-up running backs, and it's kind of hard to get up to those guys with the aforementioned lack of value on the slate. So let's close it out now by looking at the tight ends, and then we'll start building some lineups. And at tight end, you guys will see some of the top-end tight ends actually projecting just about as well as not Jamar Chase and Puka Nacua, but as well as any other running back on the slate. Brock Bowers, 18.69 fantasy points. Trey McBride, who Kyler Murray has promised that Trey McBride will catch a touchdown pass this week. He says he's going to do everything in his power to make sure Trey McBride scores. And I do take that seriously. Obviously, you can't guarantee that a player is going to score a touchdown, but I think the Cardinals are going to do everything that they can to draw up plays down in the red zone for Trey McBride. No touchdowns for him this year. He is nearly at 90 receptions. It's an NFL record, and it seems like they're going to prioritize getting him his touchdown today. And that is something that if you look at Sportsbooks, even though Trey McBride has had 0 touchdowns this year, he is now at something like close to even money, even at some books, to score a touchdown. I think I saw him at under plus 200. So Trey McBride, he is somebody who is priced fairly likely to score a touchdown despite not having one scored this year. Then you got George Kittle at 17.2 fantasy points. Those are your high-end tight ends for the slate. And then if you look at the projected ownership, there are some cheaper tight ends that show up here as well. Brenton Strange with Evan Ingram still out. He's pulling 13% ownership. Then you got Sam Laporta. Laporta priced all the way down to $4,700 now. He is sub 10% owned. And then the other most highly owned tight ends, all the guys that went over before as the highest projected tight ends. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and start building some lineups. And let's see if there was any questions or super chats that came in for any questions that people had or lineups they wanted us to look at, and nothing quite yet. So let's start and build some lineups of our own, Jordan. We'll start at DraftKings, and somebody who I like a whole bunch for this slate, Michael Penix, only $4,500. He's got a great matchup against the Giants. I don't have a strong opinion whether he's going to be good or bad in his first career start. I don't know how anybody could. We've seen basically none of Michael Penix this year. He was taken high in the draft. It was criticized by a lot of people, but it wasn't because of hate for Michael Penix. It was odd to use a top 10 pick on a quarterback when you also spent hundreds of millions of dollars on Kirk Cousins in free agency. And now Atlanta is handing over the reins to Michael Penix. And at $4,500, he's going to be given a very strong chance to succeed right out of the gate because of this matchup against the New York Giants. So I think that Penix is worth rostering in tournaments for sure. I think you'd also make a case for the Giants defense in tournaments because Penix is going to be somewhat popular, and we don't know if he's going to be good or bad. Wide range of outcomes. Penix is cheap. The Giants defense is cheap. But let's start here by building a lineup with Penix. And my favorite stack option with him, that is going to be Drake London at $6,400. So let's go Drake London here, Jordan. I don't hate Kyle Pitts, but at the same time, too, there's so many good tight end options that I'm not necessarily prioritizing playing both London and Pitts together. If I was going to go with the second stack with Penix, I don't mind going to Bijan Robinson, but let's just leave this at a single stack for now. If we have the salary later, we could go ahead and we could plug in Robinson and into this lineup as well. Let's go back to the running backs, though, and let's plug Jahmyr Gibbs in at $7,500. Running everything through the Sims, by the way, the ownership on Jahmyr Gibbs seems about appropriate. He's not somebody I'm taking a big stand on getting overweight to the field to, but not going really underweight either. It looks like he should be in about half of the field's lineups. So let's go Jahmyr Gibbs at $7,500. And if we want to go a little bit cheaper at running back, there's a couple of options to go to. There's DeAndre Swift, there's Jerome Ford. And I'll tell you guys that DeAndre Swift is somebody who Lofty has talked me into a little bit over the course of the week in the couple of shows that him and I did together. And at 6% ownership on a slate that doesn't have that much value, and also the amount of workload that we've seen from Swift as of late, I think he's a pretty viable contrarian option, especially to save some salary with. So let's go DeAndre Swift at $5,600. I like that we're getting him and Gibbs in a lineup as well together, kind of a mini correlation game, stack two running backs that are both going to be involved in the passing game. And then other wide receivers here. Let's see. What do we have for salary, Jordan? 5,200. All right. So let's actually plug in, just plug in the Raiders defense at 2,700. Taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars with Mac Jones at quarterback. Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, I was, all right, there we go. Yeah, I just missed that it wasn't on screen there. So now at wide receiver, a lot of decent looking mid-range options. I like Malik Neighbors at $6,100. I like Jacoby Myers, I like Juwan Jennings. I think this is where I'm going to be getting the bulk of my wide receiver exposures in this like high 5K, low 6K range. Let's go Neighbors at $6,100 as a run back, though. I think that makes a whole lot of sense here. And I know the Giants quarterback situation is also a complete disaster, but there is so much volume going to Malik Neighbors that I think that he's able to exceed whatever the shitty quarterback situation is. 14 targets last week for Malik Neighbors, caught 10 of them for 82 yards and a touchdown. It's terrible efficiency. But if you're getting 14 targets at this kind of price point, it's kind of hard to fail. And if you look at the other games leading up to that for Neighbors, 10 targets, 13 targets, 9 targets, 10 targets, 11 targets, 13 targets. He has had more than 10 plus targets in all but 3 games this entire season. So Neighbors, especially as a run back in Penix lineups, I think he makes a good amount of sense. Let's also go Jacoby Myers at $5,800. Yeah, so Jacoby Myers, and then a tight end. Let's plug in McBride at 6,200. And let's see, who projects best of the $5,200 options that we have remaining? Who's best there, Jordan? All right, Pittman at 5K. I don't have an issue with that. Not somebody who's like a priority or anything for me, but as a last man in, yeah, totally cool with getting Michael Pittman there. So let's run this. We'll see what the sim ROI is looking like. And then I see we got a super chat from Michael Wynn. So we will plug in that lineup next and evaluate Michael's lineup. Let's see, how's this one looking? All right, 55.4% sim ROI. So not like insanely high or anything, but ended up rating out as a pretty good lineup there. So 55.4% sim ROI. All right, decent start. Let's see what we have for Michael's lineup here. And Michael is going with Bryce Young double stack. All right. Oh, sorry, Michael Wynn. I think I said Michael Wilson. Michael Wynn's got Bryce Young with Travis Etienne. Boy, I haven't seen a lineup where somebody plugged in Etienne since like week 2 or something like that. But Etienne, Bijan Robinson, David Moore, and Adam Thielen. We've got Malik Neighbors. He's going double tight end. I don't hate double tight ends for this slate. Actually, the opposite. I like double tight end lineups quite a bit because of the abundance of options at the position. So I like that we're going Brock Bowers as well as Trey McBride in the lineup. And then he's got the Seahawks defense. I'm curious to see how this one sims out. I don't think we have ETN projected all that well. Let's see. Yeah, we only have ETN projected for 10 fantasy points, so I have a feeling that he is going to hurt the lineup a little bit there. But we'll see. I could be proven wrong. Used all the salary. I was going to ask next if it was a FanDuel or DraftKings lineup, but yeah, if we used all the salary there, then say that's the reason it's a DraftKings lineup. See how it looks. Not terrible, negative 4.2% sim ROI. I do think that there's a couple of simple upgrades we can make here, including I wonder if we were to just, what happens if we just swap ETN to DeAndre Swift, just because we have Swift projected for 4 more fantasy points? I'm just curious. We make that one swap. And then, yeah, don't change anything else. Let's just run it like this. Let's see if this makes a difference. Maybe the defense or something could be upgraded as well. I have a feeling this might make it. There we go. Yeah, just that one player swap. And that was enough to make it positive. Here's the real issue with, I mean, if you feel strongly different about ETN than our projections, go for it and play him. But we just don't have ETN projected well. As a result, lineups that have him in it are most likely just not going to sim well. So really, ETN was the biggest issue in that lineup, Michael. But if you love him and you feel differently than our projections, go ahead and roster him. But that's just not where our data is at on him. All right, so we went and we built out, we got the Bryce Young double stack from Michael. I built the Penix lineup. Let's also make an Aiden O'Connell lineup. One thing that has me gravitating towards Aiden O'Connell, it's not necessarily him himself. Well, the price tag $5,100, pretty appealing. He's got a good matchup against the Jaguars, but I think we've got 2 really clear stacking partners to go to with Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers. That's where the majority of the targets are going in the Raiders passing game. So if you get a pretty good game out of Aiden O'Connell, it's just kind of an easier path to victory, in my opinion, to have a high finishing GPP lineup because we know who is going to produce should there be a big game for Aiden O'Connell. So let's go Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers. All right. And then running backs. You know, this is a pretty cheap stack. I think we could go more expensive at running back. So let's try Gibbs and Chase Brown. If we're not able to make that work, then we could circle back and we can make this lineup a little bit cheaper. Yeah, so let's go Gibbs and Chase Brown. And then let's go Giants defense since we don't have Penix in this lineup. Giants defense only $2,400. I'm going to like having one side of that game in most of my lineups. All right, so that is going to give us some salary to play with here, although not all that much. Let's see. Who do we want to go to now? So we're going to have to be a little bit cheaper at wide receiver. Let's go Josh Downs at $4,900 here, Jordan. Okay, so we'll go Downs at $4,900. And then let's go to Juwan Jennings at $5,900. I don't know what the hell has happened to Deebo Samuel, but there's a part of me that wants to take shots on him for this slate because he's all the way down to $5,200. But I have to prioritize Juwan Jennings over Deebo at this point. But it has been just a disaster of a season for Deebo Samuel. And that gives us, this is probably going to be a tight end that we fit in. But go see who's the highest projected player for the flex options, Jordan. If there's somebody better, plug them in. I have a feeling it's going to be a tight end, though. Yeah. All right. And what does that give us for? Yeah, it's fine. That's fine. Let's run it. Yeah, Hunter Henry, definitely not somebody who I am going out of my way to play at the tight end position, but if he shows up in the flex, so be it. So be it. Pretty reasonable point in the chat. Chammer saying Deebo's body is broken down. Hey, this one looked pretty good. 110.9% sim ROI, our best lineup so far. Chammer saying Deebo's body is broken down. I do wonder how much the 49ers playing Deebo at running back and all those backfield snaps he's taken the last few years, if this is a result of that and it's starting to catch up to him. I have a gut. There's no way to prove it. I have a gut feeling it might be the case, though. Let's go and look at FanDuel now. We built out a few DraftKings lineups. Let's look at the FanDuel side of things. And Ethan7 also left us a question here. This is in Discord, and it is for a FanDuel lineup. So let's plug in Ethan's lineup. It is a Penix lineup. So we got Penix at QB. Then he is going with Gibbs, Bucky Irving. Don't forget, we get the Sunday Night Football game on FanDuel. Drake London. CeeDee Lamb. All right. And then he is plugging in as well Jalen Coker. What's the latest on Coker? I'm just making sure that there's no more injury issues. Still listed as questionable, but is expected to play. So it was just double checking on that. So gonna have to make sure that he is for sure confirmed in, but Jalen Coker is expected to play today. Then we got Trey McBride. All right. And now he's going with who does he mean? I feel like I'm having he said Jameson. Who is he possibly thinking of here? Could be. The defense, by the way, is the Raiders. I assume he means Jameson Williams, but let's see. What's his salary? Okay, cool. All right. Throws me off some. I mean, it wouldn't have been any less confusing if he just put Williams in, but sometimes when all the lineups are last names and then just somebody puts a first name in, throw me off. All right, 10.4% sim ROI. So not terrible, but not a great lineup either. So let's see. If we were to improve this a little bit, I wonder, is there something better we could do than Bucky Irving at running back? And I know that Bucky Irving's been really good, especially over the course of the last few weeks, but he's also kind of banged up at the moment. What's the price point on Bucky Irving on FanDuel? 70. What's that salary, Jordan? Let's see. What if we just swapped him to Jonathan Taylor? That works, right? Yeah. I'm just curious because I know we have Taylor projected better. I want to see if we just make that 1v1 swap, what it does. Let's see if we just do that one. There we go. Yeah, just getting a running back in who projected a little bit better for us. You know, Jonathan Taylor expected to carry the bulk of the work in the backfield. And when you look at Bucky Irving, he should, based on what he was doing, you know, a few weeks ago, but he's also just not been 100% as of late. So I do get a little bit concerned that Rashad White and him, it becomes a little bit more of a split in the backfield there. We've also got a gray haired gaming put in a DraftKings lineup for us to look at. So we'll go back over to DraftKings and plug this in. By the way, as we're looking at that, just some overview for you guys. The quarterbacks I get the most exposure to overall for myself on FanDuel, it's Aiden O'Connell, Anthony Richardson, Brock Purdy, Michael Penix. Those four are my core guys over at FanDuel to build some lineups around. But let's see what we have from gray haired gaming. All right. Gray haired gaming, also an Aiden O'Connell lineup. This isn't that much different than the one that I put in before. So I think I think there's only a couple of players that are different here. Yeah, he's on the Buccaneers, so he's not on the main slate. Um, so let's go to the let's you know what you could do? Put in the I don't know which slate he's doing. Put in Sunday to Monday up top, Jordan. Change it to Sunday to Monday. Maybe this is the slate he's playing. All right, so let's make an educated guess here. And then he's got Aiden O'Connell, Gibbs, Swift, Chase, Jacoby Myers, McMillan, Bowers, Strange, Bengals. By the way, something to take note of there is that we do have, I know we're usually just building lineups in here for the main slate, although on showdowns, we'll build lineups in the single lineup sims that also cover the showdown slates, but we've got all the early slate, afternoon slate, Monday through Sunday slate. We've got those in here as well. So hopefully this is the slate that he's playing in. If not, I'm out of guesses. And then Bengals defense. All right. Let's see how this one looks. Once again, if you guys haven't done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Told you guys about the Celebrate promo. We've got one other promo going on here for the holidays. Portfolio EV. If you guys follow me on Twitter and you've seen some of the bankroll thread that I do where I go out and I just place bets directly from these tools, and it is just bets from the tools. It's the bet size recommendations from the tools. And doing that, I started with a $100 bankroll at the start of the NBA season. And that bankroll now is right around $600. And this has just come no personal input from me, none of my own knowledge. It is just straight from the tools and then showing how effective they could be, even if it is somebody using it with a lower bankroll to start here. And if you guys want 50% off on these tools, you can sign up now. Link down below in the YouTube description box. Promo code GIFTEV. This is going to expire December 26th. It gets you 50% off. So if you guys have been wanting to try out our betting tools, get yourself 50% off with that promo code GIFTEV. But let's see here what we ended up with. Hey, it looks pretty good. 72.1% sim ROI for the Sunday to Monday slate. Hopefully that was the right slate that it is that you're playing. If not, I made an incorrect guess. But guys, that was a quick 30 minutes. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't done yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and stick around. We got the deep dive coming up next. Lofty and Ben Ross, they're going to walk you through all the games on the slate, going game by game, looking at all the matchups, the injuries, and all that. And then we've got Eric Lindquist and Matt Kajeski taking you guys home for the final 90 minutes, going over their final lineups, exposures, any changes that happen on the site. So stick around for the next few hours. We got all the football slate covered, guys. Good luck with your lineups, and I'll see you back here on the channel tomorrow.
One bet yesterday. If you took my ROI, this year from main slates and showdowns, it would look really nice. If you took my ROI from 2-game slates, it would look like I've never played DFS a day in my life. Dude, those two.
Some of those slates are brutal.
Those main slates and showdowns have been good to me. Those two, I don't know why I do it to myself. Oh, look at the nice.
Oh yeah, I saw that. It's good work.
All right, cool. Looking good with the overlay. Now, who did that, Jordan? Was that our friend Brody Bentz? Oh, okay. Jordan getting better. I love it. Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL live deeper dive. So I had a 40th, my brother-in-law's 40th yesterday, surprise party. I was telling Ben, like, I really, like, I've become at least moderately responsible, right? Like, in the sense of, I know I have to do a show tomorrow. I have 2 kids, a 3 and a 1-year-old. I'm like, I'm gonna be responsible. And I was, but it just doesn't work anymore. Like, you could just go out and have a few drinks, and it just hits different in the morning these days.
Yeah, I mean, you said you woke up a little hungover. I woke up hungover. I didn't drink yesterday though, so like it's just. I hear you. I feel you. I'm a little banged up from sweating out. Just a little too much college sports yesterday. I went a little too much. It was a long day, but I actually feel great. I like the slate.
Good. I don't.
It's freezing here. It is so cold out.
What's the temperature?
I don't know, but it's.
I woke up and it was
11.
Like
10, 16.
Yeah, it's 17 now. It's going to be 11, I think, in Buffalo today.
Yeah, that's cold. That is cold.
It's cold. Yeah, it's cold here too. But we'll get into it. Yeah, I was looking around at people yesterday and I'm like, and they're, buddies of mine, just great dudes, had a good time. And I'm looking, I'm like, he's getting there. Oh, he's getting there. Hope he's not driving. Look at me. I'm doing good. And then I woke up today. I was like, nope, doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Stay young, friends. Stay young.
Everybody's sick too. I don't know about you. Everyone I know, including me, I'm on the finally past it, but everyone is sick. So Chad, I hope you guys aren't sick. Hopefully no colds for Christmas, but everyone I know is just sick.
And if you are sick, I hope a nice takedown makes you feel a little bit better today.
Yeah.
I'm good so far, man. I mean, obviously it'll hit me. It always does. So far I've escaped. I also am convinced, I've told you this before, I've told Jordan this. I'm convinced that me eating copious amounts of blueberries has helped fend off illness.
I eat a lot of blueberries now.
Dude, I have to go through pounds a week of blueberries.
But that seems dangerous, but
I don't know. I don't think so. They're not high in sugar. They're good. They're delicious too. I got my kids eating them now. Like, there's a big blueberry family over here, Ben, so they're good for you. They're good for you. Keep doing it. Who knows? Maybe it works. Maybe I'm full of shit, but I'm gonna, for the time being, until I get sick, I'm gonna credit that. I think that's fair. And then if I get sick, I'll just stop eating them. All right. Anyway, happy to have you guys with us. It's Sunday morning. You should be elsewhere. You're not. You're here. So if you don't mind, take one single second, tap that thumbs up, atone for your sins on this chilly Sunday morning as we head into Christmas. Yes, what a time to be alive. And subscribe as well. Ben, it's free.
Of course it's free. Yeah. Don't people think you got to give your arm and your leg, your social? No, just press the button. Nothing happens. You're just part of the team. And you won't miss out on any content. And we got, like I said, a beautiful slate, 11 games. Really nice. Like, look at the totals. Look at the totals. What's the biggest discrepancy? But 41 to 48. Like, it is such an interesting slate. No one double digit. The Bills game is a little out of hand, but everything else very competitive. What a cool slate to break down.
It's really cool. How about that? BHO Kevin, haven't been on in a bit. I remember you, man. I sent you a ring. He said, got my Hall of Fame ring in the mail a couple weeks ago. It's amazing. That makes me feel good when people get them. And yeah, that's good stuff. I tried to get them to you guys before Thanksgiving. Shipping, I sent out like 12 at once. So it must have taken a little bit of time to get all that coordinated. But there they are, stokastic.com/HOF. Just rock the avatar, baby. You want one of those. Yeah. Just use one of those avatars. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. Get a free month, then get a free month plus a free week if you hit twice in a calendar year. Then get all access sims. That's every single tool for every sport. Can't beat it, baby. Just tweet your wins to us at Stokastic HOF when you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. It doesn't matter either. It doesn't matter if it's a 5 or 10 or 20 cent entry or 100. But yeah, that's awesome, Kevin, man. I'm glad you enjoy it. The whole reason that I wanted to do the rings in the first place was because I thought that people would like them and they'd have something to show people. And Ben, you know, people come and ask about your ring. You tell them, just get out of here.
Yep. I know.
Until you have a ring, get out of my face. Anyway, let's get into it. You're right. Fun slate. Also, if you've looked at weather outside of Miami, there's no, and then the dome games. I mean, it's in a dome in Atlanta, but it's 40 degrees in Atlanta today. Like it's just cold across the country and then 74 and sunny in Miami. But like even Carolina's 40 degrees. There's no like warm weather games outside of the dome. And even a lot of those have relatively low totals because it's just not really good football teams.
No. And, again, the way I typically look at it, obviously I look at the sports books, but in general, I think we all agree, unless it's like -10, which it's not anywhere, cold is nothing. Wind, it could be something. And there's a couple games, Chicago, but even that, look at the total. So the books aren't too concerned. I'm really not concerned about the weather. It's just cold. It's cold everywhere.
Man, it's sick, but there's one game I look at and I go, I really like that. And it's Arizona, Carolina.
Yeah, I just built a team that was a Kyler stack, but it had a couple bringbacks.
Yeah. Thielen, was it Thielen and Chuba, or are you getting
No.
to like a Jalen Coker or a David Moore?
It was I have it right here. It was Moore and Chuba on the bring back with
Okay.
McBride on the other side.
Doesn't it just feel like one of those games though where Carolina, I've talked about it the past 2 weeks, right? Like Carolina competes against all these good teams. Then you just know coming into that Dallas game, they're going to let everybody down, right? And they did. And I had a ton of Chuba. I don't regret it. He played like 97% of snaps. And then now that everyone's back off of them, this is just going to be like, I'm not saying that definitively going to happen, but doesn't it just kind of feel like one of those spots where now there's no pressure again?
Yeah, and again, they're still at home. There's still a lot of things to like, and we'll get there. But yeah, that's
You're
that's
right. Get me back on track, baby. Let's go Philly and Washington. Eagles 4-point favorites at Washington, 46.5-point total. Zach Ertz is the only piece of injury news who we didn't know about, but he's going to play now. So pretty much everywhere else, you had a couple injury scares last week in Pittsburgh for the Eagles. You had Saquon Barkley, you had AJ Brown. They never disclosed that Barkley injury. They never even disclosed what it was.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
He missed a bunch of that game. Still finished with 19 carries. But how do you approach, again, an expensive Eagles team where on a slate like this, there are a lot just across the board. The running back position, man, you could close your eyes and probably pick a couple good ones. I mean it. Like you could, if you didn't scroll yet on the screen, you're on DraftKings, you're just hand building something, or you're using the single lineup sim over on Stokastic, and you just closed your eyes and just selected blindly 2 running backs, above like 6,800 or up, you'd probably look at it and go, yeah, I know you would. You'd look at it and go, that looks okay to me.
This is that type of slate. And the interesting thing about that is, well, where is ownership going to go? Because if you have a really balanced slate like that, it's hard to get people. And, Gibbs, I think, is going to be a unique situation. But other than him, I think ownership will be pretty dispersed amongst a lot of running backs. And I don't think Saquon is going to be one of them. So it's right back to what we talked about last week. The brutal matchup and Saquon wasn't particularly the answer. I always think you can roll the dice there. Now, he's really expensive and he makes your build difficult. But if you wanted to, when Saquon's sitting like 5%, you're always going to have me at least intrigued. I don't know how much I'm going to get to him. You don't need to get to him a ton. But really, I think it starts there with an Eagles team that's not easy to build around.
Yeah, I'm with you. By the way, it's funny that like the same teams that played on Saturday are playing on Christmas Day.
Yeah, they're
Because you need the additional rest day.
Yep.
Yeah, but you just flip the matchups, right? Like Ravens, Texans, Chiefs, Steelers.
Yep.
4 days later, same game, same teams. 4 days later.
It'll be the same 2 game. Like that. That's the crazy part. Like,
Yeah, and I'll play it,
why
and
not?
we all know what's going to happen. But do you get to like AJ or Devontae or Calcaterra today? I think it's kind of difficult.
No, again, you tell me you want to play AJ Brown, strength and honor. He's fantastic. But no, not really where I'm going. And it's just the type of game I expect it to be a better real life game than, and I hope it is, better real life game than DFS game. The price points on the Eagles just make it very difficult. AJ Brown would be in that bucket.
Yeah, I'm looking at something, and I go, or looking across this game. I would never be opposed to a $7,800 AJ Brown. Like the ceiling is still big on this guy. He's still, when they throw the football, he's clearly the top target. It's him and Devontae. There's really nobody else. You don't have Goddard. Calcaterra might get a couple of looks, but who else? Jahan Dotson? Like none of these guys are viable at all. So normally you'd think, all right, it's easy to get there, but I actually think they go back to the well with Barkley. If he's good, he was never on the injury report. And people are talking like, hey, he had that injury last week. He still had 19 carries. He just wasn't good. The guy still had 19 carries. So if I were to pick someone here, I think Barkley's still my number one in Philly, but I'm just not prioritizing the Eagles today.
Yeah, that's exactly how I'd sum it up too. You still have big time playmakers, but I'm not prioritizing the Eagles either.
Can you prioritize anything for Washington against, the level of parity is crazy in the NFL. Things happen. But they have a good run defense. You got monster D linemen that just swallow up opposing running backs, right? Like we've seen it all season long. Jalen Carter wrecks games.
Yeah. Told you that on draft night.
Yeah. You text me, you text me like, you just got the best player in the draft. Yeah. And he's a monster. He's insane. The amount of plays too that like haven't been called against O linemen for holding him is also insane. Like he's just held constantly. And then you got big boys like Jordan Davis on rushing down. What I'm saying is it's tough to run on this team. Austin Eckler is out, so Brian Robinson would still be the feature back here. McNichols probably gets a little bit of work. Terry McLaurin last time they faced this team wasn't really targeted because Quinion was locking him down. Noah Brown is on the IR. So I suppose you could look at like a De'Ami Brown or something at 3,400, but or a Zach Ertz even. I think Ertz is fine in a spot like this. Washington is tougher for me to get to than Philly today, even though they're at home.
Same. It's a different type of like price point that you're looking at. So I think that changes the complexion a little. Like when I look at Washington, my main focus is, do I want to punt with somebody there and open up salary? Someone like De'Ami Brown at 3,400. He factored into some of the lineups I was messing around with, but at the end of the day, I don't really want to do that. I still think that all in all, Washington has not the best situation on hand, and it's still not a team that I love, and it's their best weapons, I think, are in the worst matchup. So that's where it gets tricky. Like I'm not really getting to their backfield. Obviously, McLaurin's had an incredibly good year. He's also running crazy hot with some touchdowns at times. He's got 5 touchdowns in the last 3. It would be a punt from Washington or pass, but honestly, it's more likely to be pass than anything.
It's crazy too. I said to you last week, I was like, yeah, this guy's pretty touchdown dependent, and he ends up scoring. Now, granted, he had 7 receptions, but only 73 yards again, right? Like 7 for 73 isn't bad. And even with a touchdown there, 7 for 73 and a touchdown, that's a pretty nice game.
That's 20.
What's that?
20. 7 for 7, 20.3. That's what you got.
Right. Which is, no one's arguing that's not fine. But it's also the fact, like, then he just has these 2 touchdown games and blows it open. And I don't think I'm playing for that today at 7,300, especially because, and I know you've looked, we talked about it on Tuesday on the First Look show, kind of setting the table for the rest of the slate here, by the way. So the 5K range for wide receiver is stacked.
And that's where, again, it just like narrows the range of why exactly am I going to De'Ami Brown? Unless it's like I'm certain and I'm running my teams and it's popping up in the Sims and I'm just in love with the lineup. I'd much rather try to bump and get to a range that's just way stronger, in my opinion. So it just doesn't work for me price wise in this game.
Me neither. I'd say Barkley probably overall my number one here, but still not a top priority, just given the depth at running back. Agreed?
Yeah, I do agree.
Probably Barkley and Brown, which we're not really telling people anything they don't already
Which
know.
one? AJ Brown?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, because I think there's still value. I've built lineups and don't feel like I need to jam a De'Ami Brown.
No, that's exactly my point. I didn't need to go there. He fits criteria because he's in a unique price point, but I just told you before, not before the show, during the show, like I used David Moore in one of my key lineups, and he's basically the same price point. So I have other pay down options I prefer.
Let's talk Detroit and Chicago. Oh, by the way, give me a number. Give me a total. Set a line for likes on this show.
Okay, Christmas.
We're at 301.
I will go with. People got shit to do. It's the holidays.
That's a good point.
That's actually true. I'm being serious.
No,
I'm gonna go with 774.5.
Okay. I actually like that you factor that in. Like you don't just mail it in when you're setting.
No, I think about this stuff. I got the mouse to feed. Serious business over here.
774.
Yeah.
All right. I'll go 713.5.
Yeah, I was in that range, but we already had 330, so yeah, it's gonna be around that.
Our boy Stephen Leibowitz always keeping the faith. He said, "I'll take the over. I have faith." Appreciate
love him.
A tone. All right. Detroit and Chicago. Look, this is one of those spots where last week I said it. I'm okay being wrong on certain spots because from a volume standpoint, Chuba Hubbard was one of them for me. Ended up being wrong on Chuba Hubbard. He wasn't good. The Panthers weren't good. It's funny too, because I bet Dallas. I just didn't think Dallas would necessarily run away with it. But he still played 95% of snaps, 97% of snaps the game before that, right? I'm okay being wrong on Jahmyr Gibbs today. I know you and I felt you felt a little differently than me on Tuesday when we talked about this, but this is not a scenario where Detroit can just like take their foot off the gas. They have the same record in the division now as the Minnesota Vikings. They are gutted defensively with injuries. David Montgomery is out with the MCL tear, and the Eagles have the same record. They're 4-point favorites today. So it is a critical spot for the Lions, who looked like they were about to run away with the conference before the injuries started piling up. And now Jahmyr Gibbs just against a subpar Bears run defense, I think he's just going to get an exorbitant amount of work today, even if Reynolds gets worked in a bit. I love Gibbs. He's my highest exposed running back today.
You're going to need it because he's extremely popular.
I'm actually right now under the field, but I still have a good amount of him.
And that's the context that I think is important because I'm kind of on the other side, but not really. Like I'm going to have Gibbs, certainly a healthy amount of them. I'm just not jamming him to the extent where he's, I have 80% or something like that. The first thing I did was I went to Odd Shopper and I looked at rushing attempts, the line 18.5, and it's slightly juiced to the over at most books. So you're talking about, if you factor that in, you're probably around 25-ish total attempts in everything. If he's, he gets a healthy amount of targets. So he's going to be busy. I do think they're going to have to try to work in some of these backs. Maybe it's a committee. Maybe it's some random guys. Maybe Jameson Williams starts taking carries. I really don't know. I just don't think that Gibbs, with 3 games left, crucial games, you want to be giving him like 30 carries a game or something like that. But it's pretty clear that he has to be busy. And it is also pretty clear you're outside in Chicago. I know the Bears are a mess, but the Bears almost just beat you on Thanksgiving. This is not just a free square game. Like
I don't think it is.
This is a tough game. So
yeah, people laughed at me in the comments on my picks for every game video on Odd Shopper when I was like, if you're getting 7 in a spot like this, I'd probably lean Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't bet this, but I
didn't bet it either. But what I meant was I'm not just blindly clicking Detroit in a spot like this.
No,
Chicago.
definitely not. Definitely not.
I didn't bet it either.
Yeah, it's just a tough game. But obviously, like I said, Gibbs is going to be heavily involved. I think that's pretty clear. But the field, with so many other backs, I think there are pivot points. So long story short, Gibbs is not going to do much for me. I'm going to have a healthy amount. I'll be, plus or minus a small clip against the field. He's showing up in my sim runs is not unexpected, and I'm calling it a day there. I'm not really getting though to the passing game, so it's going to be under on the Lions altogether because St. Brown, maybe a little Laporta, but I'm not getting to Goff.
Can I tell you who my favorite pivot off of Jahmyr Gibbs is in the high range?
All right, hold on. Let's go to the videotape.
I'll be so sad if you don't get this.
Oh no, I do. In fact, I don't even need to say it, but I know who it is.
Who
He'll be
is it?
down in sunny Miami.
No.
boy-
I figured you would get that because it's somebody that I've generally liked. This
That's
is someone you love.
Oh, I don't. If you're talking about Bijan, I don't even consider that a pivot because he's just the best play.
I do because we're projecting him for insanely less ownership than Gibbs.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
I love Bijan today, man. And we'll get to that game, but I want to tie these things together because otherwise we're not helping anybody. Who knows? Everything I say might be bullshit and it won't help you anyway. But Penix is going to be pretty popular today.
I don't understand that either. But
we don't even know. I saw people like, man, you have to lay the points on Atlanta today because it's Penix over Cousins. It's like, well, maybe, but maybe that's better, but we don't know. The guy's never made a career start in the NFL. What if they just give Bijan 28 carries in this game?
Yeah, that's what they're going to do.
I mean, Bijan's currently projected for less ownership than Penix. That's wild to me.
Yeah, we'll get to Bijan, but it's pretty clear where I stand on that. I've been on him all year, and I'm certainly not stopping now. So
yeah, so I'm actually not opposed to what you're saying on Gibbs. What I am saying though is if I'm getting Gibbs in line, I'm not full fading Jahmyr Gibbs, just no chance.
No, I don't think you need. Again, you can take stances against that and be just fine. So to me, Gibbs is rightfully very popular, but I'll be interested to see. I don't think his volume is going to surpass the likes of a Bijan today.
No, I really love Bijan. Einsteinium asked Laffy, earlier in the week you mentioned the Lions might just have to run it up because their defensive ineffectiveness with the injuries. Yeah, look, and then he said, would you stack Goff with Gibbs given the ownership? I don't know how much it's going to affect them. What we do know, Ben, is that when you suffer that much of a catastrophic injury situation, eventually it catches up to you, right? It's just, you can't, there's only so many holes you can plug until the boat starts to sink. And maybe it's not this week. Who knows? Because the Bears aren't a good team. But it is an interesting concept that Einsteinium is asking about. If Goff in the passing game isn't going to be that popular, but Gibbs is just going to get all of the ownership, the whole Goff Gibbs with a St. Brown stack is actually a kind of fascinating idea today.
Definitely, because everyone is seeing the same thing and there's merit to it, but it doesn't mean it can't work. Is that they're outdoors. Gibbs, everyone's talking about Gibbs. No one's talking about the passing game. I don't think the passing game's in a particularly good spot. So that's where it's tricky. You're balancing that, but there are so many pivots off Gibbs today if you want to make it. So many. Yeah,
there are. You're right. I'm not really getting to the passing game here, to your point. No. Just not. Anytime you want to run some St. Brown, I hold him in the same esteem as an AJ Brown. It's yeah, I'm never going to talk anybody off of Amon-Ra St. Brown in any matchup.
I'd also, a couple people asked this, I would strongly advise not playing any running back on the Lions outside of Gibbs. I don't think there will be anyone who takes a Montgomery role.
I agree. And we saw Gibbs had 31 touches with Montgomery missing a game last year. I have some tepid interest in DeAndre Swift this week because what if those injuries do catch up to them this week? And how many of them are on the D line? There's a lot. It's cold there. This has been a stout run defense, but does that change? And do they just try and feed Swift? The only reason I mention that is because when you look at some of the other guys down there, you have Jerome Ford. I know it's a good matchup, but I just have zero faith in Dorian Thompson-Robinson to run a competent, an efficient offense. A few of these other guys, Patrick Taylor being one of them, Tyrone Tracy, he's interesting, but there is something to be said, for me at least, about DeAndre Swift at 5,600. I actually don't mind this Bears team. I don't mind Caleb stacks because the ball is going to Moore or Allen or Adunze. They're all in the 5K range. I have 7% Caleb Williams right now, so I'm around the field. I look at my exposure to some of these Chicago guys, 10% Keenan Allen, 10% DJ Moore. Yeah, I'm actually getting not a ton of exposure, but if you were to spread it out, I'd probably have like 50% to across the board to the Chicago team.
Yeah, I get it. Price points help. And Swift, he avoided, certainly, it looks like, any further damage. He was sporting like a legit Q tag, and then he had 19 carries against Minnesota. He scored in that game, and there was some type of bizarre penalty. So it could have looked even better. I have no problem with him. You mentioned it. Probably his best asset today is he fits a pay down running back spot that is extremely difficult to find. So if you're building and you need some salary savings at running back, I feel pretty confident saying Swift will weasel his way into some lineups. Him and Laporta are probably the non-Gibbs pieces that I'm most interested in from this game.
Okay. Yeah. And like I said, I don't think the Caleb Williams stacks are crazy because of that price point. 5,500. If you were to stack Caleb Williams with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, you're not paying anything. It's really a cheap stack.
No, people will do that with Gibbs on the other side, and I totally get that.
Yeah, with a concentrated target share as well. Fun game, though. I'm excited to watch that game for sure. Then you got Cleveland and Cincinnati. All right, so Nick Chubb's on the IR. Cedric Tillman's still out. And David Njoku is pressing to play, but I don't know if he's going to, Ben. We'll see. It is a good spot. I just so much would have preferred Jameis Winston. I don't care how bad Winston's been. We knew that Winston was going to be bad. We knew that he was going to have bad games. But I would have been so much more intrigued by this Cleveland offense. Jerry Jeudy, David Njoku, if he played, even Elijah Moore, these type of guys today, even Jerome Ford, if it was Winston. Because I at least know Winston has the ability to lift this entire team. I'm not convinced in any way from everything I've seen from DTR over the last 1.5 years that he can do that.
Yeah, this is a killer for production. It seems like, not that it's a conscious decision, but in some ways it is, that they are trading some floor for some ceiling. Because there's no doubt that Jameis, when he's good, is infinitely more effective than DTR. But I think it's also pretty safe to say that the chances that he throws multiple pick sixes is much lower than Jameis. And I think they're tired of this. I mean, the guy's just, we know he's got 8 picks, in the last 3. So it's just really tough because it seems like Cleveland's scenario here as nearly 10-point dogs is shorten the game, hang in the game, don't make mistakes. And none of that's what we want. We want mistakes. We wanted that with Jeudy, and to me, that just kills Cleveland. I don't think I'll have a single Brown in the pool today.
I don't think so either. I want to. And actually, that's not true. I'll have some Jerome Ford just in case he starts getting some of these dump off opportunities. I have a little bit of Ford. Talk about Cincy for a second. I'll be right back. I got to let the dog out.
Yeah, go ahead. Go
real quick.
Into the tundra. I mean, Cincy. They're clinging to whatever life you want to say they have. 10-point favorites at home. To me, it's just pretty simple, though. You have a concentrated offense with big weapons, but the price points on them are kind of what they are. So you have money at wide receiver. We already talked about A.J. Brown. We already talked about St. Brown a little bit. Jamar Chase, luxury spend. He's 8,500. 29 targets in the last 2. None of that's going to change. He didn't score in the last game against Tennessee, but before that, he had 8 touchdowns in the last 4 games. Everybody knows that he's in a great spot. Then you've got Higgins, kind of, the next guy up there on the outside, but he's priced like, one of, if not the most expensive second wide receiver on any team. You're talking 6,800 for him. You're not going to have the same targets. You're talking 8 targets in the last game, 5 against Dallas, healthy against Pittsburgh and the Chargers. And then Chase Brown, I talked about this on the first look show with Laffy. At some point, Chase Brown's ceiling and value is starting to get negated. He's still firmly in play. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you can see it right on the screen. He's going to be very popular, 27%, but he is rightfully so come up in price point rapidly. The guy was in the upper 5s when he kind of got the call, and he was even lower than that at the beginning of the year. Then he was in the 6s. Then he broke 7,000 against Tennessee last time out. And he had 25 carries for 97 and another touchdown, caught a touchdown. Now he's at 7,700. I mean, I'm not saying you can't play Chase Brown. I'm not saying he's a solid play, but it's pretty clear a lot of the extreme value is gone just because his price has come up like multiple thousands of dollars in the past month.
It makes it difficult. And
It does.
you know, there is a part of me though that goes, is Cleveland just packing it in at this point?
Yes.
Right? Like I thought last week was an opportunity for Cleveland to, maybe show a little bit of competitiveness. You had the game against Pittsburgh where it's like, all right, let's see what they can, and then Kansas City, like two good games where even if they're out of it, Ben, maybe Stefanski gets these guys going a little bit, right? Like he goes, look, guys, we're out of it, but you got Kansas City. Like, come on, like come in and see it. They were lifeless, totally lifeless. The defense wasn't bad, but there is a part of me that thinks maybe Cincinnati, who is not out of it yet, and then they play the Broncos this week, which is, I mean, huge. Because if the Broncos lose out and Cincinnati wins out, that ends up being just a massive game, right? That's a Saturday afternoon game. There's a possibility that Cincinnati just rolls them today.
Yeah, there's a very real chance that I bet Cincinnati.
I bet him at 7. I think it's at 9.5 now.
It is, and I kind of, it's now or never.
Yeah, I still don't think it's crazy. What I'm saying though, not even just from a betting angle, but like from a DFS perspective, I'm actually kind of interested in, because I don't think these Cincy stacks are going to be very popular.
I mean, they're super expensive. That's my biggest.
But it interests me.
It interests me a little bit, but I had trouble with that. Like it's analogous to the Eagles. They're in a better matchup, but just you're paying a lot for a team that still has multiple big time weapons, and you need probably a couple touchdowns from the big guys to get there. Like it's hard to get there for Chase without multiple touchdowns. Chase Brown at this point, I mean, he probably needs multiple touchdowns too.
Yeah, probably right. Chase Brown though, I think I'd still go back there given his volume. I don't even disagree with what you're saying. And I didn't hear everything you said, but maybe you compared it to who was it last year? Rashad White.
Yeah, it is like that. It's just
similar. The only difference here is that Chase Brown played 93% of snaps last week. Like this guy is just playing every single snap. So my lean here for this game, I have Chase Brown, and that's pretty much it.
I get it. When you look at his output in some of these games, it's been fantastic. But compare it to this week's price point, and he has a lot of great games that turn into just solid games.
I hear you. The only argument I'd make against it is that the volume has still been wild.
Yeah. It seems like he's running pretty hot with touchdowns, and I'm sure he's going to score at least one today. 7,700. He's got to be busy, and he's a popular running back, and I'm not going to push back on playing Chase Brown. He's in a good spot for sure.
Rams and Jets. This is kind of an interesting game.
Now we're getting weird.
Well, the Jets last week proved that they weren't, our friend Andy Francis, I mentioned this on a betting show. I do a show with him on Thursdays over on his channel. And 2 weeks ago, he was talking about, he's like, I might just blanket bet the overs on these Jets receivers. And I think all of them hit. And he's like, because when a team like this is out of it, they might just throw caution to the wind, and not in a bad way, but just like they start playing loose and they start just chucking the ball around and nothing really matters. The pressure is off, right? There is a possibility that you see that again today where, Rodgers just peppers his boys, Devontae and Garrett Wilson. Devontae's coming off a massive game last week. I mean, just almost a 200-yard game. He had 47 DraftKings points or something like that. And then you have Puka Nacua on the other side. This game has a 47-point total. That's a pretty big number, especially given this slate with everything, so compact. I have some interest in this.
Hard not to. Yeah. I mean, the key to the slate last week was the garbage Jaguars Jets, and everything got out of control. I'm making room. I talked about it on the First Look show. I'm going to force in some Nacua. Guy, I mean, this is just anecdotal. I never get him right, but I'm going to try today. Having a tougher time on the Jets side. I'm not going to chase it. Maybe it burns me again, but I'm not getting to Rodgers. I think for me, I'm more interested in the Rams side of this game.
By the Rams side, is it what, Puka and Kyron, or would you be taking some shots on Cooper Kupp, being that he's just left for dead now?
I think it's going to be pretty generic, and it's going to be I'll call them the big two, with Puka being the priority. And yeah, Kupp's in a weird free fall because you could honestly argue that like 6,500 is way too expensive. Like he might just be in a different role now. And I don't know what the Rams are doing. They've been messing around with personnel for quite a while now. But the demise, I'm just going to keep saying this, the demise of Kyron Williams, which was announced on this show by chat. He's had 29 carries in 2 straight games. So I have a feeling that he might be on the field a little bit once again today. 7,200, that type of volume. That's serious business. So Nakua 1, Kyron 2, not anything else really on the radar for me.
When I said you could close your eyes and pick a good running back in that range, I wasn't kidding.
Yeah, it's absolutely loaded.
Super chat from Michael Wynn. Thanks, Michael. $10. It was a lineup, Jordan. So maybe run that in the single lineup sim for him. I assume just.
Easy.
Oh, you already did it? Oh, my man. All right, cool. Appreciate.
Wait a couple others somewhere.
Thanks, Michael Wynn. Yeah, I'll get to him.
How do you find these?
What's that?
Never mind.
Go to fan funding up top on the drop down. And all the super.
Oh, you see, I was in the wrong spot. Now I say.
Gray hair. Did you hit that one too? The gray hair gaming one, Jordan? My man. All right. Thanks, guys, for the super chats. Merry Christmas to all of you. We'll be back before Christmas anyway. Do we do first look show for the main slate since there's 2 Christmas games? We probably do, right? Or do we like hit them real quick?
I don't know.
I haven't thought about it. I hate when that happens because it messes up our flow.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Riley, 4-point passing touchdown league playoffs. Do I bench Darnold, rain game, for Anthony Richardson or Aaron Rodgers? I also start Jonathan Taylor. No receivers for any of the quarterbacks. You're not super worried about stacking there. I think Ben probably tell you Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, certainly would. Yeah, I like the Colts today a lot. So
yeah. Would you go Richardson there, even though he had Jonathan Taylor?
Yeah, I don't care about that.
Yeah. 1 and 2 said Jordan Klein is the Kirk Cousins of Stokastic. All right, that's not the worst, Jordan. He's saying you've had a long, maybe not illustrious career, but an effective one at that. Yeah,
you take that 100 mil they owe him, I'm sure.
I'm not sure that's what he's insinuating, but a nice workman-like career behind the virtual glass here at Stokastic. Appreciate you guys, by the way. Make sure to hit on any super chats as they come in. Yeah, Puka Nakua and Kyron, definitely. I have a good amount of Nakua right now for sure. But on the other side, yeah, I don't have interest in the running backs. We both said the same thing last week, right? And we weren't wrong. You're bringing Breece Hall back, but you have Isaiah Davis, you have Braylon Allen. Breece Hall played 48% of snaps. Isaiah Davis played 41. Braylon Allen played 17, got banged up. Like, he's good to go. I just don't see any definitive leader here right now in a lost season. Why, I don't know. Why put more mileage on Breece Hall right now than what you have to?
Yeah, that sums it up nicely. There would be legitimately zero, even teams do a lot of stupid things that would be beyond stupid. That's not going to happen. So that's rendered useless. I
like Devontae though still.
Okay. I mean, it's an easy case to make. I just, as crowded as that running back range is, the wide receiver range is almost equally crowded. And I just have other names there, mostly above. I'll say, like, I'm not in love with McLaurin. And we'll see. It looks like Tyreek's going to go, but yeah, I'm not going to push back on Devontae.
Keep it going.
Yeah, I don't have anything else from this game. Maybe Jets defense, but again, that's just random. Giants
and the Falcons. All right. what do we make of this spot? The Giants are 9-point dogs, 42.5-point total. We can start there and then we'll move over to the Atlanta side. I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on Bijan. Both of us have agreed that at his projected ownership right now, he's, I think, one of the best. He's one of my favorite plays today.
Yeah, clearly. I think that he's going to really, really shine here. Obviously, his touchdown prop is through the roof. You're talking like over -200. He's 3-1 to score first, by the way. I do like that, but to me, this game is pretty simple. The Giants are irrelevant. It's what do you want to do with the Falcons passing attack? If you play Penix, you're freeing up salary. What are we really thinking Penix gives you, though? Like, does he have a ceiling? Does he need the game to stay close? Is he more effective? Like, that's what I think you're trying to decipher here. And if you do play him, are you playing him with Bijan? Are you going skinny with Drake London? There's not that many routes to take.
There is one thing, because you have Drew Lock, right? So, and yes, with Penix, just let me hit on the Giants real quick here.
Go on.
Well, Malik Neighbors, this guy is still, the price tag on him is cheap. And Drew Lock hasn't been good. They don't pass block well. Atlanta also does not have a good pass rush, though. You know, outside of facing Justin Herbert, where they sacked him like 5 times, this team has been really incapable of consistently getting to the quarterback. I still like Neighbors this week, and I don't even hate Tyrone Tracy. The problem with Tracy hasn't been his efficiency. It's that every game gets away from them, and then he's kind of rendered useless. And then, of course, Singletary sniped that goal line target, or that goal line touchdown. But Neighbors at 6,100, I'm not shying away from that today, no matter how bad the Giants are. They have nothing to lose, nothing to play for. Malik Neighbors is still a very good wide receiver. That's a guy that I'm looking to get to this week.
That's a good call. That's an oversight on my part. That price point has come down, and Locke really helps because he didn't have a functioning quarterback for some of this. The targets will be there. So, yeah, Neighbors is the one Giant that should certainly be considered.
Any interest in Tracy?
For me, it's not a range that I need to get to, and I just have Swift ahead of him, so it just kind of renders it dead.
All right.
But Neighbors, yeah. I'm going to get some Neighbors now that I look at it. I might have to manually boost him.
It's not, 6,100. I think it's kind of an underprice when you consider you're probably locking in another 10 targets, right?
How could they, yeah.
And he's actually good. It's not like you're locking in 10 targets for a shit bag. This guy is a good football player. All right, so just back to Penix for a second. We've covered Bijan. That's pretty easy. Like, we know what we want to do with Bijan today. I think both of us expect a pretty serious workload for him. He's good. He's efficient. He's involved in the passing game when they need to. He's involved on the ground. He's going to play 75+% of snaps pretty much every week. Even with Algier expectedly getting worked in, it hasn't hurt Bijan's floor or ceiling lately. With Penix, I know you're talking about, like, who do you stack him with? Sure, Darnell Mooney, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and those guys. Ultimately, are you buying into this? Like, are you buying into the dirt cheap quarterback making his first start? Because I think the perception so often when a quarterback plays poorly and then gets benched and someone else comes in, especially a rookie who was drafted early, you just see public perception. And I've seen it from all the comments in the videos that I've done and everywhere else this week be like, nah, man, they have Penix in there now. Like, they're just instantly better. Where, interestingly, the line moved from 10 to 9.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure anyone really knows. No, exactly. I'll say this: you legitimately couldn't ask for a better situation at home against the Giants. Like, that does help, but it also hurts in the sense that there's a really good chance that Atlanta's controlling. And I always, again, maybe this is a leak in my perception of how these things go. I assume the priority for Penix is to not turn the ball over, not to throw 3 touchdowns. It's to not screw up the game. And if that's the case, how often in this game is Penix like 15 for 20 for like 170 and a touchdown? And
it's
they just
so funny you'd say that, because this was one of the things. Jordan, did you get that DM? It was one of those things that I had said earlier in the week too, where I had people saying, listen, they want to start Penix because he's got that meeting, that matchup against the Giants. The difference is that they saw it like he's got a good passing matchup against the Giants, where I saw it the way you did. It's like, no. He has a really good matchup against the Giants where theoretically they could play conservative football and break him in, pretty easily in that first game. And they've got, a fantastic running back. So some people are looking at it like, yeah, they're just going to let him go out there, chuck it against the bad D. And I'm thinking, well, what if they just go out there, tell him to play it safe?
Yeah, tell them to win the game. These are important games. This isn't like the Jets. Like,
and they're not out of it at all.
They have stuff going on. So that was prop. Again, I'm on Odd Chopper, pretty healthy, 220.
That's a decent number.
Yeah, upwards of 225 at books. So I get it. I still think, though, with Penix, it has to fit with the other pieces. If you really like Chase and you like Saquon and some of this, the need to get to Penix grows and grows. But if you don't and you want to go balanced, I could do without him today. So I hate to make no stand, but I'm pretty indifferent. I just think that it's more likely that Penix throws no touchdowns and has no picks than has 3 touchdowns and 3 picks.
I'll have some of him, but this is not like a jam spot for me at all. I'll put it
I
that
agree with that.
Yeah. Who's your favorite pass catcher here? Would you go back? I will say Darnell Mooney is interesting because Penix has been known for having a strong deep ball. Like, if they give him a few opportunities to air it out, you could actually see Mooney there. Large field stuff, I kind of love a Penix Mooney single stack, skinny stack.
You are the Mooney whisperer. Every time you mention him on the show, he plays well. And he's coming off a non-factor game, so
yeah, nothing.
It's your domain. You're the Mooney whisperer.
Mooney's ceiling actually isn't bad. So his floor is just bottom level style. But the Michael Penix, Darnell Mooney skinny and like the Millie or the play action or something.
Interesting.
That intrigues me. Yeah, it does.
And if Penix is really going to get you there in those type of tournaments, he's going to need some type of like 80-yard touchdown probably.
Yeah, the methodical like 8-9 minute drive doesn't seem practical with him benefiting from it. It would be a lot of Bijan and Algier.
Yeah, and again, when you get into those tournaments, just being effective points per dollar is not enough. Like he could be great and give you a 4x at 45, but that's not going to work if Josh Allen goes for 33. Like there's too many other weird permutations. So maybe a weird large field tournament like that to leverage him. But I think Penix is a fascinating case on this slate. He's far from my favorite quarterback play. I'll say that much.
Agreed. All right, let's talk about Arizona and Carolina. Before we do, hey, we tell you guys all the time about portfolio EV. I know you're DFS players, but I'll tell you what, man. DFS is one of these things where like you're just hoping to go like this until you get one of these, but there's plenty of downswings in DFS, I've had a couple, I've been in like a 2-week downswing for DFS outside of Showdown. That buoys me. But I keep looking at my accounts and it's like, oh, they're actually up because I just jam as many bets with the mass entry tool as possible from Portfolio EV each day. And it is because, it's been a great betting year for NFL, NBA, NHL, sports that I don't even know anything about from a betting perspective, like originating your actual bets, like NHL. And we've got 50% off right now if you guys ever want to try it. Again, I know you're DFS players, but like the crossover here, especially when you consider it takes you less than 20 minutes to get 100 bets down every single day. I was out with the family all day yesterday, and I had my brother-in-law's 40th birthday party, and I had this, and I had that. I had to take my kid to swim. We went out to breakfast. I got 140 bets in yesterday, and I was hardly at home. I did it all from my phone, man. It's 50% off. It's $50 for the entirety of the month. And Ben, I tweeted earlier today, Colton Heisey, who I actually sat down and talked with, really cool dude, on Friday, because he had tweeted Greg. He saw Greg's bankroll builder tweet where Greg's now turned like 100 into, 700 or something just from NBA season. And that's, by the way, if you guys aren't familiar, that's an insane thing to do. People are so absorbed with like, oh, well, that's nothing. You hit a 10-leg parlay. My brother, $100 bankroll, 999 times out of 1,000, that bankroll is at 0 very quickly if you're playing that way. He hit us up and he's like, yeah, in 40 days, I turned a $13,000 profit. Now it's at like 15,000. I'm sitting there talking to him, Ben. I have to tell this story. And he tells me, he's like, I started with 2,500. I was like, all right, that checks out. And then he goes, I'm in Florida. I was like, what do you mean you're in Florida? All they have is Hard Rock Sportsbook. He's like, yeah, that is his Hard Rock winnings over the last like 45, 50 days. 14,000 with being limited to $50 a bet. He has access to one sportsbook, and that's what he's done with Portfolio EV. If that's not a testament, I simply don't know what to say.
I mean, again, we could spend all day on this. The thing about the ability to get down volume like this, the whole boogeyman of limiting, and it's a large conversation. Like, do you know how fast and heavy your volume can be on $20 bets? If you're betting hundreds of them a day, trust me, you're going to be making plenty of money where you're not going to be like the old way of, I'm going to hone in on this one bet and I'm just going to pound it. And then if I win, I'm in. And if I lose, I'm just crippled for the whole day is over. This is the new way to do it. Yes, there's some utility for originating things and all of that. That's a larger conversation. But if you are serious about saying, you know what, I want steady gains, and when I dip, I want to be able to withstand it. And perfect example, I'm actually glad this happened. A couple weeks ago, I had a week where I got crushed with Portfolio EV, just destroyed. And then, you know what happened?
Late November, because I was there too. Yeah.
Then you look and you zoom out and you're like, okay, it's still been good, but we got to turn. And then slowly, you have a couple good days and it's like it never happened because the volume is so quick to help you have incremental gains. You don't have these where DFS, let's be real. If you're playing tournaments, you can go years without ever binking. That's just the reality of the situation. With something like this, you're really smoothing the edges and you're just pressing the advantage day after day, bet after bet. It adds up. Come in for the month. Like I said, you're talking a little more than $1 a day. If you don't love it, if it's not for you, you got to see these tools in action, but we're so incredibly confident that it's going to make you a better bettor and make you some money. So use that code and get in Discord. That's the last thing. We have a gigantic community of people using these tools. So find out what they're doing so you get caught up to speed immediately.
It's made money for us. It's making money for Greg. It's made money for Colton. Yeah, it's awesome, man. Anyway, Gift EV, the promo, Gift, GIFT EV, all one word. Link in the description at checkout. Just use that at checkout and you are covered. All right, let's move on to this next game. Arizona at Carolina. I like it, man. You have no DeMercado. You have no Trey Benson. DJ Dallas is questionable. I don't know if he plays. I don't know how much that matters. I like James Conner in this spot, man. I like James Conner. I like McBride. I don't care about the touchdown narrative here, even though that guy burned me. I hit 3 of 4 on the touchdown round robin last week, and I did a 4 p.m. touchdown round robin. I hit 3 of 4, and the 3 hit within the first quarter, okay? And then, of course, McBride got tackled at the 1, and that lost it. Still, round robin, you'll take 3 of 4, but the 4 would have been massive because I parlayed it as well. But Connor, in this situation, there's a lot on the line for Arizona. McBride, even a cheaper Marvin Harrison Jr., I like Arizona. And you know what? On the other side, we can talk Jalen Coker, David Moore, and all that. If I like a mid 5K Adam Thielen, I'll go right back to Chuba Hubbard. This game could be ugly, but it does have a 47 total. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, but this is tied for the highest total on the slate. Oh, no, Detroit, Chicago, 48. But basically tied for the highest total. This is one of those ugly games that I think I'm going to get a lot of. And Xavier Legette is out as well. Yep, I have a lot from this game. I really like it.
So do I. And it's going to be interesting. I got a lot of pieces on both sides, but certainly I think Arizona, pretty good spots. I know McBride has just been killing us in the touchdown market, but he's still one of, if not the best tight ends in the league. You've got Hubbard on the other side playing every snap. You've got pay down options at wide receiver for Carolina. Connor and Marvin Harrison are the pieces that are most confusing to me. I'd say they're both pretty easily playable. I'm just not exactly sure where they fall in the priority rankings. I'll probably just default to the tools and see what they say with them. Connor is someone, again, this is not real. I cannot get that guy right, but he does seem to be in a pretty prime spot. And this is a game that even when I'm not, I'm looking at some of the lineups that I've made already that I think I'm going to roll with in some things. I have a lot of lineups that have pieces of this game without either quarterback. Just so I call it a twist, but like a little, I have Chuba on one side and McBride on the other. I have Thielen on one side, and then Connor on the other, something like that. So it's just a good game to have some exposure to. And I think the price points make a lot of options playable on both teams here. What are you giving out? Nutrition advice in between takes? I like this. Look at you. You're muted. You're still muted. You'll be muted forever if you don't listen to me. Are you listening to me? You are muted. You've been muted. For Christ's sake. I just keep saying you're muted and you don't seem to care.
Because I was talking. I didn't hear you.
Well, so was I, but people could hear me. So go ahead.
All right. My fault. Anyway.
Jeez Louise.
My fault.
Protein shakes. Okay, very good.
Good game, though.
Great game.
Yeah. This could end up being like a 13-10 stinker, and then everything sucks. But all in all, I'm a fan. Connor, McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr. to a lesser extent. Like those would be my 1, 2, and 3, by the way, for Arizona. Connor, McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., with Connor and McBride being closer to each other than they would be to MHJ.
Where's Kyler?
I like Kyler today.
Okay.
I like Kyler. He's got rushing upside. This is a game that this would very much help them to win. What are they? They're 7-7. The Rams are 8-6. The Seahawks are home dogs at 8-6. This is a huge game for Arizona.
Oh, no. Arizona, you can't be messing around. You can't drop this game.
No, you can't. I mean, the Panthers are bad, but on that side, Chuba and Thielen, to me, I don't think I go to much Bryce here, but I like Thielen. I don't want to sleep on a guy that's getting like 10 targets a game. He's clearly the top target, even though Coker had that big game last time out. How would you order? Because for me, it would be Chuba, then Thielen, then Coker, and then I guess more. But those guys are pretty much the same to me.
Yeah, I think that just has to be defaulted. On the Carolina side, I have way less interest in the stack, and I would order them in the order of their price.
Yeah, works for me. Let's talk about Tennessee and Indy. You like Indy this week.
Love Indy this week.
I have a tough time getting Indy right, and I despise betting Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I'm on board.
Talk me through this one.
Well, Tennessee's a disgrace. That would be step one. They really are. I can't talk about a team that is just Anthony Richardson, though. So it's two different things. One, it's like, wow, when they get beat down, he threw the ball 38 times. Obviously, he's got rushing upside. That's pretty clear. The price point is great. Wildly erratic. I actually like that. He's got a great attachment with Pittman, who's flat 5. And they're at home, of course, no weather. 3.5-point competitive spread. I just like this spot. I think that they'll be able to move the ball on Tennessee, who, if there's one thing that Tennessee does do pretty well, I respect their front a little bit, but I really don't respect that secondary as much. I think Richardson will have opportunities, and I'll even go to Jonathan Taylor, even though I did say Tennessee's front obviously dropped the ball last week, but I expect him to bounce back with 20-plus rushes, not pairing them. I like this Colts offense today. This is one of my favorite teams to target.
Really? Okay. So that means then, and for what it's worth, I have some Anthony Richardson as well. There's no doubt about it. No Alec Pierce. So you can't have that 60-yard touchdown just wipe out everybody else that you have when you didn't play Pierce. But yeah, Downs and Pittman, I assume those are your two top options in the passing game.
Oh, definitely.
Are you willing to double stack Richardson though? Like that feels so gross to me.
I don't have that right now. I guess you could, but it's not how I prefer it. I just don't. it feels like for it really to work, Richardson probably runs one in, and sure, could he throw two and they split? You're just starting to really narrow the edges. So I'd rather go skinny.
Okay. Do you have anything from Tennessee?
I have some Ridley because I
Glutton
will
for-
never not defile myself with that. He just fit no matter what lineup. It's insane. I don't really understand how this is possible. Every time I take some lineups, and a lot of times I run the Sims, I saw a favorite, blah blah blah, and then I'll take a couple and I'll throw them into the single lineup simulator, and I'll like try to 2v2 them, just see if I can make them a little better. No matter what price point, it does not matter. I could be looking for a defense, and the only guy that fits is Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. He always shows up. So yeah, I do have him in the pool. That's it though. I don't really think I want to go to Pollard here.
You guys in chat, let me know as well. I want to know from you, is Calvin Ridley the masochism play of the year?
Close.
What?
I don't think it's close. It's got to be him.
Right?
Who else is who?
I don't know. I feel like
think.
I feel like it has to be. By the way, self-torture for those of you guys.
If it's not, it's Pollard. That just shows what Tennessee is. just get them out of here.
To a lesser extent, but a higher price point, Breece Hall for most of the year would kind of fit that mold. Debo's a good one, but no, for me, it's got to be Ridley. It has to be Ridley. You know what? You're right. I don't think it's even close.
No, it's not. I'm looking at the teams. It's Debo. It's Debo. I mean, it's Ridley. He's just been absolutely. Yeah, DK Metcalf's a good one. He's hurt me a lot this year, but not in the same level.
I haven't talked about him in the same type of, with the same way of like optimism that I have with Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
It's Ridley. There's no question.
No, that's it. That happens to be the answer. So there's really nothing to say.
Yeah, that's it. Humbled said, yeah, Calvin, Breece, and Pollard are the all masochist team. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. And Marcus nailed it. There's always someone near Ridley's salary who goes off. Yeah, it just makes it way worse.
Of course.
Way worse. Oh, Kyle, that's such a good one. Alvin Kamara. Yes. Chalk Kamara. Not Kamara, Chalk Kamara. He might be up there.
I get Kamara more right than wrong.
Really?
Yeah.
Even this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My best Kamara week was when he was like 4%. And I had him. That was my best week of the year.
Fair. For me, I don't think Ridley's going to be one of the guys I'm prioritizing this week. There's just so much down there in that price range that Ridley will absolutely go off. Like this is going to be a wild Calvin Ridley game. It's going to be brutal. Yeah, well, whatever. I'm not going to Pollard this week. I'll have some Richardson. I'll have some skinny stacks, a little bit of Taylor. I don't like Indy as much as you do, but I understand why you like it this week. And like the Browns, Tennessee might have just packed it in, Ben. I think that's a realistic possibility as well.
Yeah, they're done. They've been done. They have no idea what's going on. They're terrible.
Minnesota, Seattle. 42.5 point total. Vikings 3-point favorites on the road. Why am I having such a tough time getting to anything from this game?
Yeah, I mean, it is supposed to be pretty nasty up there, which I think is good because I don't really like this game. And it's tough. You have two teams, pretty competitive, trappy little line. Minnesota, I think it's mostly a price point issue. Like, you have Justin Jefferson. He's absolutely fantastic, but he's 8,200. And that's difficult. And then you've got Addison, who's just been at times out of control. I mean, some of these games are massive, but is he this year's Gabe Davis? Like when he doesn't have 2 touchdowns, he gets you 7, and that's not going to get it done. So I just look at Minnesota. I'm not in love with the backfield. I'm not in love with Darnold. I guess you go to Hawkinson, but he's in no man's land. I'd rather pay up or down at tight end. Just by the process of an 11-game slate, I don't like the Vikings here.
It's funny because I'm getting the more, when I say I'm not getting to this game, I am getting to some pass catchers for Seattle.
Yeah. JSN.
JSN and some Metcalf. He's at $5,500 now. But I'll tell you the truth. I think it's very possible that I negatively boost Metcalf in the Sims. I'm not convinced this guy's healthy right now. Like, he's got the shoulder. He had the MCL that held him out for a month. What if he's just not healthy?
I mean, it's very possible. It's been rough. If I get a ton of him in the Sims, I'll manually boost him too. Not because I hate the play. There's no chance that I want him like defining my slate. I'll say that much.
You do not want to hitch the wagon to Metcalf in that range when there's 1,000 good 5K guys.
Yeah, that's just an unnecessary risk. I still wouldn't mind getting to some if I do, but not in a crazy amount.
I have a decent amount, but I don't want it to define my slate by any means.
Me neither.
But also, if I'm wrong and Metcalf is healthy, then 5,500 is a steal.
We've said that for quite a while now, though.
I know. You're right. You're right. Maybe I'm just trying to think of reasons why he's been so bad.
That's what I mean. It's just like, well, it's just not really happening. And it's not even like the opportunity. I mean, the guy's got, his last time that he saw double-digit targets was week 6.
That's crazy.
Not great.
Yeah, it's nuts. Y said Metcalf just blows. Dude can only run straight, not a route runner. Yeah, but that straight runner that you're referring to was, a perennial 1,000-yard receiver with a lot of touchdowns every single season. So, like, one way or another, something's going on.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, I'm not getting to the backfield for either team right now. I'm not getting their Jones. Someone asked me why I didn't talk about Jones on Friday with Greg. It's just because, again, I'll use our friend Adam Scher's terminology, casualty of the slate. I mean, to me, he's just a casualty of the slate this week with the amount of depth there. And I don't want to try and figure out the Kenneth Walker-Charbonnet situation. And I simply wouldn't be shocked if Charbonnet gets worked in more with Walker returning from an injury and Charbonnet being super effective in those games he started, even though they, didn't look great last time out. He did.
Oh, yeah. He's been good. Very good.
Yeah. But would you agree? Are you getting to the backfields here? No.
No.
All right. How about the New England Patriots, Buffalo Bills? Let me check the weather in Orchard Park, Ben. Because I know if it's cold by you and it's cold by me, we're like, an hour and a half from each other? Driving distance, probably.
A little more, but yeah.
You think so?
I think it's like 2.5, 3.
It is going to be.
We're not by Buffalo, and it's going to be cold.
Yeah, I'm saying by 1 o'clock, it's going to be 14 degrees.
Both of cold weather teams, at least, though.
I was just going to say, both of these teams have experience in the cold weather. It's not going to be windy. It's going to be sunny. So I don't it's cold, but I also don't think I'd rather have 14 with 0 wind and sun than 30 with 20-mile-per-hour winds and overcast any day of the week. I mean, I don't even think it's close.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, do you go back to your boy Drake May today?
Yeah, so obviously I do think the Penix news impacted this a little bit because you have a quarterback that's $1,300 cheaper if you really wanted to pay down. I still think you can make the case for Drake May. You can take two sides of it. The last 2 games for him, 80 and 82% completion percentage. That's ridiculous, but you want more volume. He was 19 of 23 for Arizona in a game that they trailed. Like, what is that? We need more. Obviously, what I really want to tap into him is the rushing upside. It's been there at times. It wasn't really there in the last game against the Cardinals, so we need to see more of that. But I still think you could pair up like a him and Hunter Henry if you want to be different and just really not concentrate on your stack today. Clearly should be playing from behind. It's a healthy total. So I will say, in all honesty, I've soured a little bit on this entire game from the first look show, but I still think you can make a case for Drake May skinny stacks.
All right. I think my skinny stack with no ownership would probably be Mac Jones and Brian Thomas. But
okay,
It's pretty. If you wanted to go Bretton Strange in there with an actual stack, I don't think it's crazy, but probably not Mac Jones for me. If you were getting a 14.5 here, or you could get a 14, would you take the 14 with Buffalo or the 14.5? Or would you lay the 14.5 with Buffalo or take the 14.5 with New England?
No, I would definitely take the points. I'm considering betting New England here. This is a terrible spot optics wise for the Bills. I know they need wins and they're not going to be messing around, but at some point when you continuously are getting up for game after game, and then you get a divisional opponent like this, it's not the easiest spot in the world.
I said this too on Tuesday that like coming off the statement game of the year for any team and a win against the Lions.
Yeah, and they just played the Chiefs. Huge statement game. Like you had the Niners in there who are not the Niners, but it's still the Niners. The Rams. Like you've just been playing really tough opponents.
There is a 14.5 out there. You're going to have to pay a little bit for it though.
Yeah, if you're inside like 120 or better, I would consider it.
122.
Yeah, I think that's playable.
Yeah. Or just grab the 14 at minus 105, but
About the same, yeah.
yeah. Anyway, I don't think I'm getting anything for New England. If anything, I would just grab. I put a small bet on them at 14.5 earlier in the week anyway. Buffalo. Do you want to get to the Bills here? It's an odd spot, isn't it? From the like, I almost wonder, do I just play some naked Josh Allen lineups? I'm so uninterested in trying to figure out if it's going to be Keon Coleman, if it's going to be Dalton Kincaid, Khalil Shakir, if it's going to be or if it's just going to be Josh Allen rushing everything in. There's so many mouths to feed in this offense where there's no clear prioritized out. I didn't even mention Amari Cooper, Ben. Amari Cooper had a 14 target game and then a 0 reception game. Like he wasn't even involved last week. How do I figure out this Buffalo team right now if you're playing Josh Allen?
I mean, yeah, it's incredibly difficult. Obviously, if you want probably the easiest version of playing a bunch of teams, having some Josh Allen in the pool is never a bad idea. Naked Josh Allen, he's got all of that. But I will say, and I'm going to take this, and this is just what I'm going with. This has been my read on Josh Allen for a long time, is that more often than not, the rushing upside comes in big games. And I went back and I looked at every single game that he played this year. And I'll take games of double-digit wins for Josh Allen. I'll go right back to the beginning. Miami, 21-point win, rushing touchdowns, 0. 37-point win over Jacksonville, rushing touchdowns, 0. 24-point win over Tennessee, rushing touchdowns, 0. 21-point win over Seattle, rushing touchdowns, 0. 10-point win over Indy, he had 1. 25-point win over the Niners, he had 1.
You've been all over this all season. You mentioned it on our projection. You mentioned it like a month ago on our projections call when we were looking at a prop for his rushing yards, and it seemed high, and you said no, it makes sense. I think it was against Kansas City.
It was against Kansas City, yeah.
Like no, it makes sense that when he can run, when they need him to run, this guy's going to run. So then, does that possibly lead you to any James Cook?
I think that's an interesting wrinkle in this game because it's still plenty of touchdown equity for this team. I do think though. So it's actually like a double-pronged problem, though. I would say definitely yes, but the backfield has splintered. They've got these other guys behind James Cook that they seem pretty comfortable with. So, like, I worry about, not that it's Josh Allen, but James Cook has to fend off his own backfield to consolidate the touchdowns, even if Josh Allen doesn't get them.
I just don't, okay, if you were to, I'm not even going to ask you to do it, but do you think you could even prioritize Buffalo pass catchers? I think you probably have to put Shakir first from a consistency perspective, but would you feel confident trying to do that?
I don't know how you can. And it's not even just, there's been interchangeable parts. Every week, the permutation of who's in and who's out has changed for this team. From Kincaid to Amare, Coleman's in and out. Shakir's been the steady guy, but they're all about the same price. I really worry about how to prioritize those guys. And I think in an 11-game slate, your answer is just don't.
I actually think James Cook is my favorite play from this game. And I still don't know how much I get.
Me too, but that's scary in itself because, again, you do have to still fend off Josh Allen. And then if the game is in hand,
Ray Davis.
So, where exactly is James Cook's ceiling coming from? he's going to have to average another 7 yards per carry like he did last week.
And another thing, not only are you fending off Josh Allen touchdowns and potential Ray Davis touches, you're also fending off Kyron Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, James Conner, Jonathan Taylor, Chuba Hubbard, Chase Brown. Like, that's crazy.
Oh yeah. It's, again, there's a huge opportunity cost for all of these guys in these ranges. So Buffalo, they've been unbelievable. I mean, they're scoring 40 points a game, and I'll be interested to see if the complexion's different in a game that's probably going to be in hand.
Couple games to go. Making good timing today. What do you say we close this out strong?
Let's do it.
Do it. Are we anywhere near our 700 mark?
We're about where I thought we would be.
562, 3,250 people watching. We're what, about 200 shy? There's 200 people out there kind enough to atone, hit that thumbs up. Maybe they just forgot. They came in late, they forgot.
Yeah, they probably came in and they said, what kind of show is this? The guy's talking, but he's muted. And then they left, and then they came back to see if you unmuted. And now
Look,
they did, and they're here.
I was trying something out. It
Well,
didn't
we'll check
work.
the retention numbers.
It didn't work. I tried something new.
Okay.
I try and be, sometimes when I try things, they do work, man.
I'm all about experimentation, so why not test it out on the YouTube and see what happens?
When Jordan used to walk away from his computer, and I could see him on the screen, I used to intentionally mute myself and have the host mute, and then we'd come back and talk, and Jordan would, do you remember that, Jordan? You'd start panicking, thinking the stream was all busted. Like, that was an experiment that worked. 7:14. So we're over. We cleared mine. We're going to do it, baby. Appreciate you guys. You're the best. Also, hey, if you ever want access to these tools, our core package, it's $100 value. It includes the sim up to 1,000 lineups with the contest generator and the sims, post-contest simulator, the late swap tool. You're getting boom bust, top stack, player projections, ownership, the single lineup sim. You're getting everything just for signing up with any of the sports books that we partner with and any pick'em sites. If you're in non-legal betting states, Ben will be the first person to tell you it's the best promo we have going ever, really. And I know a lot of you guys, you'll see it in chat, I'm sure, have taken advantage of this. If you go to that link in the description, right, where it says sign up with join any sportsbook, gets the Stokastic Sims free. If you go in there and then you click claim offer on any of those, you sign up, it takes a minute to like just instantly verify yourself. Deposit, usually the minimum deposit's like $10 or $5. FanDuel's $5, you get 200 in bonus bets. Bet365 is deposit 10, bet 5, get 150 in bonus bets. A lot of these, and all of the pick'em sites have first match deposits, usually 100%, up to $100. Some are even higher than that. You go in, you got to click claim offer, or we can't find you. Click claim offer, sign up, deposit, place your first bet. After your first bet settles, let's say, all right, screw it. I'm going to bet a live bet on the first drive of a 1 p.m. game, or you're just going to bet a 1 p.m. game on a prop or whatever. The moment it settles, all you have to do is take a screenshot of your welcome email and a screenshot of your first settled bet and email it to us at support@stokastic.com, and you have a free month of core. Like, you're going to make better lineups. It's that simple. You're going to make better lineups, whether you're using a single lineup sim or the sims. If you signed up too at like 4 of these, or say two of them, now you have 2 months. You can grab 1 NFL month, 1 NBA month of sims core. That's $200 there, plus all the bonus bets and match deposits you're getting. The way I see it, Ben, too, is I look at this, I go, man, we got Christmas football. We got Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And then, you know, again, you've got all of those big week 18 games. You've got Monday night playoff football. Carry you a full month through NBA and NFL is quite incredible. And you're not only getting it for free, you're actually making out in the positive, because you're getting all of the bonuses from the sports books as well. It's awesome.
It's fantastic. I mean, the only thing that I add every time is if you weren't getting any tools with this, I would strongly be advocating that you take advantage of all of these just for the bonuses from the sites. Like, there's no reason to not get on these sites and get the bonuses. That's inherent value in itself. Now, having tools per month, giving you a month on top of it for each one, is obviously just pushing it over the top, because now you're not on these sites and it's like, well, great, I signed up, but I have no framework. I'm not even sure what I'm using. Like, we're supporting you with that. You're getting tools that are absolutely, I think we all see the value in them. So it's just a fun thing that we're able to do. Obviously, these things are not easy to have come together. Now that it is, we've seen the response. I mean, me and Luffy could give you hundreds of examples of people that are like, I'm now part of the Stokastic family for 4 months, and I didn't alter anything on my end. I just signed up to some books that I was interested in. I used their bonus bets, and now I have the tools for 2 months of NBA and 2 months of NFL, and I don't have to worry about that. I just get to focus on my process all the way through the new year.
Hell yeah, man. We also have 3 milli winners with the tools over the last.
Yeah, people are just racking them up. Not me. Maybe today's the day. Today'd be a good day for me to win $1 million.
Nice? One of us. Somebody.
Before the tax, man.
Anyway, you'll see it. Join any sportsbook. Get the Sims free. You'll see it down there. San Francisco, Miami, 44.5 point total. Interesting game for sure. You know, I look at this and I think, did San Francisco pack it in? I don't know. You know, you can't say for sure, but you have to wonder what's going on here right now with this football team. And Trent Williams, you know, that injury, we saw that. You know, what's the point of playing? How about the fact, though, that this moved through 0 and now San Fran is a 1.5 point favorite?
It's funny because I didn't know where you were going with that, but I thought you might go to what I was going to say. It's like, I don't know if San Francisco packed it in, but I feel pretty confident that Miami's packed it in. Miami's done.
I didn't look at it that way.
Yeah, I did.
They're not out of the playoffs yet.
They might as well be. Miami is done.
Okay, okay, that's interesting because I saw it the other way around where like San Francisco just keeps like everything is going wrong for San Francisco. They have a less sub 1% chance of making the playoffs. Dolphins still have a 10% chance if they win this game. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so let's hear it.
No, to me, like the game last week was an indictment on how big of a mess Miami is. And they have some things working in their favor. They're at home. It looks like for the most part, the weapons are going to be there. I guess Waddle looks like he's on the wrong side of it, but I don't know what to do with this team. Jonnu, I still, you know, he had another 11 targets. He's had 11 targets in 3 of the last 4 games. The guy's a walking touchdown machine right now. Tua seems comfortable. Tua was awful last week, but yeah, I mean, there are pieces to this puzzle, no doubt about it, but this game is 2 teams that I'm very confused about. I'm going to take pieces, and that's about it. And they're blind pieces. Like, I'm going to throw Debo in some lineups just at 52, even though he's been underwhelming. I think Juwan Jennings is in there, and then Tyreek if you just want to blindly back him. But I don't have much to say, and I don't have a quarterback on either side.
I do kind of like Tyreek today. I kind of like Tyreek Hill today. Achan's just tough for me to get to with how inefficient this run game is right now. That I can't. I love Devon Achan, and I've gotten him right more times than I haven't this year when he's been under-owned. But I don't see it being this. I don't see this week being the week. Jonnu's been great, but also at tight end, you have some other pretty decent options. Like Trey McBride is one of them. Brenton Strange is very cheap. There's a few that kind of stand out. I have a little bit of Jonnu, not a lot. What about Patrick Taylor?
I mean, again,
every time a running back has gone down, this guy has been, or not every time a running back's gone down, one guy comes up and he just gets a lion's share of work and he ends up being really good. Are they far enough into the depths of hell now, right? At the running back rotation that like Shanahan decides, okay, maybe Patrick Taylor isn't a 20 touch guy, or do they just give him the same workload that Garendo got when McCaffrey and Mason went down, or that Mason got when McCaffrey went down? You know what I mean?
It does feel at some point it has to splinter into a little more of a committee mentality, but if you wanted to blind, I don't think we know. And anytime you don't know, you could potentially back that. I just didn't feel the need to do it. If this was on the slate yesterday, no doubt, you know, you're talking like 2 games or something, but here, like, I don't want to bet on that because he might not be any good, or he might not have the chance to be that good if he only has like 9 carries.
So Patrick Taylor, not a priority spot for you.
I mean, Patrick Taylor is on like 4 teams simultaneously. Like I'm almost positive I saw him play yesterday, and he's on Green Bay still. So it's like I don't know what we do there.
What about then? What about the like Kittle and Debo spots and Juwan Jennings? Because Jennings has been their best producer, really,
Yes, they have.
outside of a couple games.
I think it's more one-offs for me. If I land on those price points, that's fine. The problem with Kittle is I really like McBride today. We just had actually I wanted to answer this and I'm just going to answer it on the fly. Sorry. Good friend too. Justin super chatted us, a real good guy. He said, if you had to pick one player who was a priority today, who would it be? I actually think for me it is Trey McBride. I really like the spot for him, and that's the problem with Kittle for me. I'm making it a priority to get Trey McBride, so that's probably my biggest knock on why I'm not getting the Kittle.
I think Kittle looks good today, but I agree with you that I prioritize McBride. I don't disagree with that whatsoever. I'm not going to Debo here. If I get burned because Debo has a big game after we've seen him just continuously underwhelm, then so be it. I do have some though. I have some Debo at 5,200. It's not like
So do I.
If Debo has a good game, I'm not getting killed by it. I'll say that much. Right? But if he has a bad game, I'm pretty much with the field on Debo. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that too. It's more of a blind backing on that. There's something in there. There's nothing that I can see. It's kind of like Metcalf, and I know we just grouped them before. Like those are guys, the talent on a macro level is there. The performances lately have been nothing. So it's a flyer at best. But I do have Debo in the pool.
Vaughn Kirkhoff, Jordan, run this one for him. Thanks, Vaughn. $10 super chat. Happy holidays. Yeah, man. You too, brother. Burrow, Hubbard, Jones, Higgins, Judy, Thomas Jr., Conklin, Abdullah, Patriots. I like a lot of that. I don't know if that sims well with Conklin and Abdullah. I actually think you can do better down there. And Patriots defense could make things difficult. But I don't like the Jones spot. I think you could pay down a little bit there. Judy with DTR is kind of tough. And Higgins being the only run back, but we'll see. Jordan can run that for you. All right, let's go, Ben. We got Eric Lindquist and Matt Kajeski coming up next. Stick around. I tell you guys all the time, even if you're just building lineups and you watch this show, keep that on in the background. Obviously watch it, but just make sure you're listening if you're not watching to that show as they take you all the way up to 1:00. Jacksonville and Las Vegas. I'll keep this very simple for you because I've mentioned it throughout the show. I do want to have a little bit of, the Mac Jones, Brian Thomas Jr. What are you laughing at?
No, nothing.
Okay. Everything okay over there?
Of course.
All right. Mac Jones, Brian Thomas Jr., Brenton Strange being super cheap there as well. 3,500 coming off a double-digit target game. I'll have a little bit of that. No Max Crosby. I don't think this pass rush is particularly good. Mac Jones is actually not as immobile as Kirk Cousins, who just can't move at all. So yeah, I don't mind that spot at all. And then on the other side, Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers, I'm never actually opposed to getting to those guys. As gross as this game seems on paper, Aiden O'Connell is going to start. Fine with that. He can get the ball to those guys. I actually don't hate this game in the 4:00 window. That's where I'm at.
This game is awful, but not from a fantasy perspective. These teams are so bad that when you get to late in the year, I actually think you want to go to one of two types of things: teams that have a ton to play for, or teams that have been out of it for quite some time. And these teams fit that. So I'm with you on everything you said, and I think O'Connell is definitely a boost. We saw Ritter, that was not good. I don't even remember what day that was, but Bowers and Myers need him in there. They're getting that. Obviously, on the other side, we saw Thomas continue to make plays. I'm not getting to the backfield, but I will get to these wide receivers.
Okay. Prioritize this game for me. I just did it essentially for you. I mean, I could throw all of those guys in from Thomas to Strange to Jones. More Thomas and Strange than Jones, meaning I'll have a lot of these guys as one-offs in lineups, but I have a couple Mac Jones stacks, no problem. And then Bowers and Myers on the other side. That's it for me for the Raiders.
No quarterback?
I'm not going to Aiden O'Connell here. I don't think so.
I don't know what else there's to say. It's funny. The game is so bad. You could definitely play the Raiders defense if you don't want to target those guys.
Definitely. Yeah. Even Jacksonville defense.
You could just do whatever you want with this game in the sense that it could be sloppy. It could be so sloppy that there's like 90-yard touchdowns. There is a huge amount of variance in the game. because these teams are bad.
Very, very, very bad. Okay. Last thing before we go, Ben. By the way, they can follow you at JazzRazBets, me at Lafayette_D. And as Ben mentioned, guys, hit us up in the Discord. If you take advantage of whether it's the DFS deal with the link join or the DFS deal that we've got with the promo Celebrate, where you're getting Sims Max for the remainder of the year, all the way through the Super Bowl for $179. That's a huge, huge discount, by the way, especially with the amount of slates. Like if you're looking to take it to the highest level, Sims Max for $179 or Portfolio EV with the Gift EV promo, all of that's down there. And the Discord is included with all of it. Some sharp people in there that can really help you out. And I know Ben's in the Discord for Odd Shopper all the time, helping people figure things out. Just for the FanDuel people, Ben, we'll talk briefly about this Sunday night game. And you've got Tampa Bay Bucks, Cowboys, interesting spot. You know, the one spot that stands out a little bit would be Rico, just because he's getting a lot of work. I don't love this matchup on the ground against the Tampa Bay defense at all, but 7,300, he's definitely not priced very high. I don't see how you're paying 7,800 for Bucky Irving here. That seems pretty prohibitive. CD's 8,500 though. I don't hate that. And I'm never opposed to Mike Evans as he chases that 1,000-yard season for like the 19th straight year. So not at the best game. Also a game where I think getting guys like Evans, Lamb, and some Dowdle and some $5,300 Ferguson looks okay. I'm not throwing darts though on guys like, you know, Irving at that price point. I just can't do it even with no ownership.
And I like the game. I actually bet the over in the game. Dallas plays the fastest tempo in the league, and the Bucks, they'll keep pace. I am more focused though from the standpoint of these big time wide receivers. Evans, CD. I think I like Rico a little more than you. Tampa's front isn't what it used to be, but in the confines of the gigantic slate, I really don't think you need to be messing around there. So although it's a good game, and I do think there'll be points, not a ton of concentration outside the big weapon on each side for me. So I mirror it. I'm not getting the Tampa backfield.
All right. Muhammad said McMillan looks good. Yeah, you could fire a shot on McMillan for sure. Yeah, I don't have an issue with that. What's he priced at? 58. Yeah, that's fine. Anyway, hey, appreciate you guys. It's been an awesome season. We still got some left to go. Obviously, we'll have Christmas Day shows and all of that stuff. Eric and Matt coming up next. If we don't see you, if Ben and I don't see you on Tuesday for the first look show on Christmas Eve, have a great rest of the week. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Stay safe if you're traveling.
Yes.
Anything else before we go?
No, one very, very quick thing. I know we talked a lot about it, but and it's credit to you. If you are thinking about getting the tools on Portfolio EV, but you're a little unsure, we built out a tutorial series that is absolutely outstanding. It will walk you through exactly what you need to know to get started. It's simple, it's easy, and it's effective. It is brand new on the site. So if you go to OddsShopper, you're going to see those. I just wanted to give you and the team a shout out because these tools, when you maximize them, they make you money. But if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to be lost. And we have now have a plan in place. So you will be up to speed immediately when you sign up with Gift EV. So shout out to everyone there. And of course, happy holidays to all. Appreciate everyone. Makes our job fun when you guys support us like this. So we want to just say thanks.
Hell yeah, man. And we crushed the total, the over under on the
we got the best in the business, the people.
We got good people here. Hey guys, Merry Christmas. We'll see you back here for the next one. Peace.
spending time.
Don't call us that again.
Yeah, Jordan Klein, swearing and profanity will not be accepted here on this effing show. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to NFL Live Before Lock, Week 16 edition. What a time to be alive. I'm Eric Lindquist. You can follow me over on X at Eric Lindquist. And as always, I'm joined by college football aficionado, Matt Gajeski, Matt_Gajeski over on X. I begin by asking him, did you enjoy the first round of the playoffs? And if so, why do you hate everything?
I hate it a lot less than everyone else.
Okay.
As you know, Eric, my motto for, I guess since my birth has just been that more football is better. So as long as they're playing the games, I'm pretty happy. Could things be improved? Probably. But I'm not going to complain as much as everyone else. Football was played yesterday. It's going to continue to be played today, tomorrow, all throughout the week. So what is there to complain about?
I think, obviously I married into an Oregon family. I think there's something to be complaining about having to go to the Rose Bowl to take on Ohio State while everybody else gets to play Boise State and whomever else. Two double-digit dogs that are the 2 and 3 seeds that are coming up here. That's pretty wild, Matt, if you ask me.
It's not perfect, nor will it ever be, probably, because of who's making the decisions, but at the end of the day, whoever has the most money, and lucky for you, Oregon has a lot of it, will be able to pull some strings, and this will change to some degree. Not sure how much, but I would be surprised if you see another playoff run out where teams like Arizona State and Boise get buys. It's probably not going to happen again. Tough for Oregon this year, but is what it is. Football, they're going to play one of the best games of the semifinals, so at least, or whatever it is, the quarterfinal. So at least we have that.
Yeah, good old Phil Knight. He'll definitely be there. Well, he'll be covering it financially. So that'll be very fun for everybody involved there for Oregon. Anywho, want to rock here in the NFL streets, but wanted to start here because Matt Gajeski, if you guys don't know, has an amazing college football package that you can all sign up for all the bowl games, all of the goodness. Is that still going on here right now as well, Matt?
Yeah, and you honestly didn't really miss that much. So there's a lot of bowl games left to be played. I was surprised how much is left on the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the promo's still going on.
Yep, code playoff still. It's now active through for a whole month, basically, up till January 20th. So take advantage of that. Wanted to start there because Matt, if you guys aren't aware, is doing all of the college football projections and has for years. He's an absolute beast mode of a human being, not just because of glizzies out there in Wisconsin, but because he is truly one of a kind in the college football streets. So check that out. Take advantage because it's going to take you all the way through the natty. Let's get into this, though. We got actives and actives. Tony Pollard is playing football. Jalen Coker's playing football. I mean, all the things that I was kind of paying attention to. Tyrone Tracy is playing football. David Njoku, if DTR learned how to throw in the course of the last year and a half since we've seen him, that one, he is also going to be active. Pretty much everybody ended up in, Matt. Anything that you noticed with actives and actives before we start at quarterback like we always do?
Nothing from the actual inactives, as usual. Shefty and the reporters get most of this stuff out before we need to wait for this moment in time. So we knew that it was likely Tennessee's backfield was going to be at full strength, if you want to call it that. Coker, I was a little surprised he's going to play, but again, that came early. So as usual, nothing really with actual inactives.
Nothing as usual. So let's get into it here. We start at the quarterback position. First off, hit that like button as well. If not for Matt and myself, for Lofty and Ben, who just talked you guys through everything for over an hour and a half. And now our hour and a half starts right now. We have Josh Allen, who just continues to put up crazy amount of ceiling every single time out. He is on an island by himself, $900 more than that of Jalen Hurts. But my favorite guy that's going to be 7K and above, and those are going to be the 4 quarterbacks we start with, is Joe Burrow. 4.6% ownership. He is the highest owned, I suppose, of everybody up here, but I know that Cincinnati is very distant to potentially step themselves into the realm of the playoffs. I think, let me pull up the exact playoff probabilities because I saw 5% to make the playoffs, 8% if they win this game. Whoop-de-doo, Basil, what does it all mean? It means they want to keep this football team together, and it's going to be really hard for Joe Burrow to have both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins there next year unless they make some statements and try to get this front office to quit pinching pennies and figure out ways to make this work. Joe Burrow's been playing incredible football all season long, Matt. 7,500 for him. Harder to double them up the Higgins and Chase way. But there's some ancillary pieces, or incorporating Chase Brown with one of those two and just taking up the running back spot, having a utility spot that's open. I really like all of my Joe Burrow stacks that I'm looking at here. Almost 10% of him amongst all of these expensive quarterbacks. My favorite. Who is your favorite?
It's hard not to say Burrow. I think the only thing that really would concern you is how much is this team going to get pushed in a game like this? But their pass rate over expectation is so high that it doesn't fully erase that question for me, but I'm at least more comfortable with a team like the Bengals in this sort of game than anyone else. I mean, they're 10-point favorites. The total's just fine. Cleveland's defense is still banged up in the secondary, even if Ward's going to play. So everything sets up for Burrow well here. The stack is expensive, but there's certainly ways to make it work on this slate, which is generally the question I ask more than anything else when you're talking about expensive stacks. Really comes down to how you want to play it. And I think Jamar Chase is going to be pretty owned. T, I think, will be modestly owned, but Burrow is actually coming in not as owned as I thought he'd be. We're talking about a sub 5% tag on him. Quarterback's generally pretty flat, but because of some really cheap QB options up at the top of ownership this week, I think some of the more expensive players and some of the guys that have elite ceilings are going under owned. Burrow would be the primary example of one. I think he's my favorite up here as well.
Yeah, this is kind of the week where we really start to tilt the scales towards what do teams have to play for? What is the incentive? Well, you're always playing for a job in the National Football League. You can always have an opportunity to ascend into a role or get kicked out and get replaced out of your current role. But I don't think Joe Burrow with that contract is going anywhere. I just think that he definitely wants to make a case here with some of these guys. And I'm not doing anything different or special in the projections, but when I'm hand building and I'm looking at some of my Burrow, Brown, Higgins, and that's kind of the primary three that I'm rolling with, it works really well salary-wise. I don't think I have to make too many sacrifices at other spots in my lineup. I just think that this is a Cincinnati team that even though, yes, all the playoff probabilities don't look good for them, I think that there's still a case to be made for them playing it straight up. Is there anything you want to say about that before we get into like the next tier of quarterbacks? Because I've been getting a lot of questions this week where it's just like, hey, like, why would they even push Tony Pollard? Why would they even push so-and-so? And it's like, well, because you want to know what your team is, and it's also your job. There's only 17 weeks to be able to play football for each team during a regular season. Do you have anything that you incorporate into projections or anything that you do specifically building out your lineups to account for stuff such as playoff probabilities?
Not really. Especially in the Bengals situation, if it's not 0, you're not worried. And then even if it was 0, like the Bengals are interesting because they have some really expensive players that they need to sign. So maybe you think like T could sit out. But as far as like Pollard goes, like Pollard's not sitting out because like, one, careers are really short. He needs to make as much money as possible. You'd have to look at the details of his contract, but you get paid for games you play. So like if there's some probably guaranteed money on Pollard's contract, but if he wants to maximize his salary, he needs to play in games. Like guys still actually have heart, contrary to popular belief. Like this is a team sport and guys do care. Like, I mean, ask that question about Jacoby Myers. If that really mattered, why is he playing today? Why is Brock Bowers playing today?
Malik
like there are
Neighbors.
teams that,
Yeah.
I mean, like it's a stupid
everywhere.
question. Focus on actual things that you could maybe get an edge on. Like uncertain situations in terms of projection. This is just an absolutely moronic question.
Yep. Well, it's not moronic. I get where the people. I get where the people are asking it from, but I'm just trying to get from the other side of it. The reason is they're just saying, "Oh, well, this guy's going to maybe mix in more." Chuba Hubbard, he just got paid. Why are they going to go put him out there? Well, because
they paid him.
They paid
to
him
do a job.
Exactly. They're paying him to do a job and help develop Bryce Young and do all of those things. And there's really no corpse down
like this. This isn't the NBA, guys. Guys get paid to play.
Yep, absolutely love. You're preaching to the choir. I'm on your team, by the way. I'm just saying it's been the first week of that. So before we get into week 17, where it's everybody's playoffs, championship game, and I get a million start and sit questions during the course of a week, I at least want to just throw it out there that I don't factor it in nearly as much as what anybody else would, or what you might think there through your logic. But I can kind of make the logic for, I'm just basically playing devil's advocate saying Joe Burrow still has a ton to play for, just in terms of like, hey, this is my football team, and these are the two guys I want on the field.
Part of the beauty of the NFL is that nobody's incentives are aligned. So it actually makes for a great on-field product because, like an owner might have a long-term approach at certain positions. This team wants to win a Super Bowl at a certain point. Because coaches don't have long shelf lives, like they need to win games. Like even Brian Daboll, who made the playoffs with an egregious New York Giants team, has not bought him enough leeway where he might get fired this year. And really no point in this was it his fault. Like ownership gave him Daniel Jones. And you're going to fire that guy after 3 years. Like Brian Daboll needs to try. Malik Neighbors needs to try and be on the field because of these things. So at the end of the day, it actually makes for a really interesting NFL product because Brian Daboll is going to be trying in week 18. Malik Neighbors is going to be trying in week 18 because their incentives are not aligned with ownership. It's actually beautiful.
That's not very nice, Brainlet 69. You're also named Brainlet 69, so it's probably not going to bother me so much. All right, let's get to the 6K range, friends. Jared Goff, 6,800. Sam Darnold, 6,500. Brock Purdy, San Francisco, 0 to play for, Matt. See what I did there? 6,300 for him. And Kyler Murray, 6,100. However, Tua at 6K, I absolutely love down here. I think that there's some interesting stack partners for him. I'm looking at you, Malik Washington. How are you this fine day? Please play football. But I'm looking at Tyreek Hill. 7K Tyreek Hill is a very fun version of Tyreek Hill to be rostering in DFS. I think that, with all the lower 6, upper 5s plays at the wide receiver position, being able to get a little bit higher to a Tyreek Hill gives you a little bit of a different look as well. I like a lot of those doubles. I like Devon Achane, potentially just bypassing some Jonnu Smith in some of those lineups, although I will definitely have some Jonnu Smith as well. He's kind of been the GOAT for me the last few weeks or, pretty much all season long. He's in every one of my good best ball teams, so go Jonnu. 6K range, my friend. Who are your favorite targets?
Yeah, Brock Purdy, I think, has more to play for than anyone else on the slate because these next 3 games will either determine if he gets the Baker Mayfield contract or if he gets something like Jordan Love or even better. Locke is going to go into these last 3 games with recency bias in this league. So, yeah, he's going to be trying, as are all the other players in that offense, because they're not paid enough, far enough in advance where they can sit games. So Purdy, I think, is interesting as far as game environment stuff goes. Miami is getting a little healthier on their offensive line, so I think this has more back and forth ability. Last week, without those tackles, Miami was just dead in the water, and it ruined the entire game environment for the most part. But in this game, I think at the prices, these players are somewhat efficient. I'm surprised the total's not higher, to be honest with you. I know San Francisco has some players back on defense like Bosa, but still, it's seeing a 44 total between San Fran and Miami. It's just, I understand both teams have not lived up to expectations, but it's just eye-opening. You know what I mean? Between that. So I'm glad Purdy projects well. I got a fair amount of him in the Sims. I have a harder time with some other guys in this 6K range. Kyler has been so up and down that he's hard to play, but it's also Carolina on the other side. So I think it would kind of be negligent to not play Kyler in some capacity in 150. I'm really debating how much to lean into this. I was kind of just going to let the Sims run and see what Arizona stuff I get and just play it because I have this bias with Kyler at this point. But man, I don't know. I thought he would be a little lower owned. Like I almost thought the Burrow and Kyler ownership would be flipped. I know their prices are different, and it kind of is Kyler's price gets you to other stuff, which is very nice, but still very surprised.
It's, I think, understandable because Carolina has elevated quarterback play all year, basically, for the other side of it. It's a really good spot, obviously, on the road in Carolina. A little bit colder than probably Kyler would prefer from what it sounds like. But I definitely think that Kyler with a 5,400 Marvin Harrison is a little bit different than Kyler Murray with a 7K Marvin Harrison and a 6,500 Trey McBride. These are pretty low prices up against Carolina in 5,400 Harrison, 6,200 McBride, James Conner, 7,100. We know the issues Carolina's had stopping the run or stopping anything on the defensive side. So I think some onslaughts actually make sense there on the Arizona side. I do have some Kyler +3, which I never thought I would roll out in a million years. But the Sims, I've taken a look at it. I've probably spent more time on this week than I have most other weeks this entire season. Basically started Thursday night, and I've just been building and building and building because I do think there are so many different iterations of like tournament lineups that you can get to. And I think Kyler Murray onslaughts, and then Anthony Richardson doubles are popping in the Sims, which I find to be very surprising as well. But I think it makes sense if you just have these low tags on some of these wide receivers that have been much more expensive throughout the entire season. Yeah, you're only going to play singles with an Anthony Richardson when it's a 6K or 6,200 Josh Downs coming off of the Flacco stuff and, a 5,500, 5,600 Michael Pittman. So as I look at Kyler Murray, I get the ownership to some extent. I think I'm with you though, where the ceiling, oh man, it's so tilting to watch Kyler week in, week out.
I was kind of just going to play this. What is the field doing? I want to do the opposite, like with Lamar last week, when everyone just thought they would run the ball to infinity, and then Lamar had 5 touchdowns. But it's pretty spread. I think the best place to get ownership in this game, as far as leverage goes, is in the pass game. It's just Marvin's pretty low. Trey McBride is the highest on tight end, but it's pretty spread at tight end this week, so you're not really, I think, getting a leg up by fading him. It's those Marvin Harrison and cheaper pass catchers that really come in with low ownership. So I still think I'm being funneled towards the pass game over James Conner. For leverage specifically, James Conner is a good play in his own right. We'll get to him. But yeah, a little bit of trouble with Kyler right now. I'm not sure where I'm going to end up.
I get it. I think that he's probably one of the more mystifying guys. I will probably, as I said, I have like 1 or 2 in my 150 set. I'm playing like 250 lineups total across all the contests. And I'm looking at my Kyler lineups right now, just filtering them out in the Sims tool. Yeah, I've never seen Kyler +3 actually show up as like positive EV and being, something that I expected to garner any attention. But I'm surely going to roll out a couple of those. And then most of them end up being skinnies with Marvin Harrison for what it's worth.
Yeah, part of the reason I think, are getting like 3 and stuff now is Marvin and the pass catchers other than McBride keep dropping. And honestly, McBride should probably be more expensive if he ever caught a touchdown. He would probably be like 7K or more.
Well, let's try to find the end zone with a couple of these guys into the 5K range. Aaron Rodgers coming off of going to his buddy Devontae Adams ad nauseum. Does he try to ride his coattails into another job at another team? We shall find out. Matt Stafford, we know the double that exists there, but it's kind of the inverse of what I just talked about. You have a 6,500 and 8K respectively on DraftKings. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Not the easiest double to throw out there. I'm fascinated by Geno Smith. I know my Minnesota Vikings have looked great at times on the defensive end with the blitz rate and everything else that they're able to do. And I will definitely have some Minnesota defense that I think is going a little bit lower owned than it should be. But Geno has really low prices. Again, that's kind of the theme, I think, as we get into this 5K range of this slate, is just how cheap some of these stack partners are for a Geno, with where DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith and Jigba live now, where Caleb Williams has 3 wide receivers sub 6K that have all shown upside, whether it was Adunze, Allen, or Moore in recent weeks. Moore probably the lesser of the other 2 in terms of what that ultimate ceilings looked like in recent weeks. And then, of course, Anthony Richardson showing up here as the highest owned quarterback in our projections. I'm a little surprised by that because Michael Penix exists, and we'll obviously have a very interesting discussion there as we get into it. But Anthony Richardson, I brought this up before. I'm so surprised by how many doubles are popping for me, and I think it has everything to do with price. And they're all Pittman and Downs. It's not like I'm doing anything different or special. I'm just taking 2 of them along that hopefully ends up panning out for me. I buy, like, the way I used to play DFS in my mind before a Sims tool and before everything else over here at Stokastic, I would never want to play Anthony Richardson double, but it's actually showing up, and I'm actually going to be rolling some of it out today. So there's that. It's Tennessee on the other side. Not a ton of run backs that I love there in that game environment. It's also a lower total than I'd want out of the chalkiest QB on the slate, but there's no doubt there's rushing upside. There's no doubt there's cheap stack partners. I'm going to roll it out. Who do you like in the 5K range here, Matt?
I'm really struggling with Anthony Richardson because he hits his ceiling on the ground. He's an awful passer. I mean, he's completing 47% of his passes this year. Like, he needs a rushing touchdown to hit his ceiling, almost without a doubt. So I'm still really struggling with him from a stacking perspective. I think you're only getting more doubles because Alec Pierce is out and AD Mitchell's probably going to play more, and it's cheap. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yep.
I want to bring him down.
Most of it ends up being Pittman Downs. I said that a second ago. I do have a little bit of AD Mitchell, but
yeah, I still think
Alec
that's
Pierce.
bad.
Yeah. He's not good at quarterbacking. He's fun at
He's
football.
not good at passing.
Yeah, he's fun. He's a fun football player. He likes the game of football. Just have to ask him.
I don't think he hits the ceiling through the air.
No, it feels as though, again, why is it popping so much? I've tried to reverse engineer it and get away
It's
from it.
really hard to take those things into consideration.
Correct.
Even with a play-by-play sim, it's really hard to capture the full range of outcomes in an NFL game. Just so hard.
Oh man. Well, now I'm more confused about Anthony Richardson and exactly what I'm supposed to do. And part of the beauty
I
of
don't
this
know
show,
either, man. He's probably the most confusing player. I think he's more confusing than Kyler. And there's the other thing is like there's awesome options in this price range. There's awesome options much cheaper than Anthony Richardson. He has the nuclear ceiling. We've seen it, but it's on the ground. We have seen nothing even. We haven't even seen like a floor through the air. So, I mean, I cannot double stack him. I have some Anthony Richardson lineups. I don't know how I'm going to fix this, but it's not going to be playing doubles without a doubt.
Interesting. Well, I'm going to probably have to trim some of the fat then when it comes to it. If you're that adamant, because again, that's the way that I think about it too. Where Anthony Richardson, I'm looking for him to rush a couple, and I'm looking for him to basically hit a bomb to Josh Downs or a bomb to Michael Pittman and move on with my life. He's 5,400. I think there's a world still where I roll out a couple of these doubles, but I'm definitely going to filter it. And that's the other beauty of the Sims tool is that, obviously play-by-play sim, everything else that we're talking about here on this end, that doesn't matter as much. What matters to you and what matters to me on this show is that I can filter these lineups very, very quickly, unfavorite them, and find better lineups that I can in the single variety with expected ROIs that I'm looking at. But I omitted two guys from one game that I'm a little surprised. You said you're surprised at the total from which game was it before?
The San Francisco game.
I'm surprised by the Jacksonville-Las Vegas total. And I brought this up Thursday night and then Friday morning recording all of the Lindy stuff over on the Odd Shopper channel. Working it through this from a betting angle. It was at 40 for the longest time. It's up to 41.5, but we got Aiden O'Connell. He's an upgrade, I believe, over Desmond Ridder, over the likes of Gardner Minshew. And then Mac Jones at 5,200. Do I think Mac Jones is all that good? No, I do not. But Brian Thomas is. Brenton Strange is somebody who obviously can garner some targets here. And, whether or not that shoulder is 100%, I don't know, but he's going to be your chalkiest tight end on today's slate. I like that game environment, and it's obviously one that's popping in the Sims through multiple players, Brian Thomas, Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers. I like getting to these cheap 5K quarterbacks a little bit more than I do most weeks. And most weeks, it's kind of like last week where you and I are going up to Lamar Jackson and it's like, what are people not seeing? And it worked out really, really well for us, about as well as you could ask for. Today, week 16, I think it's just a completely different slate where I have to get up to Jahmyr Gibbs. I have to get up, to some of the contrarian wide receiver plays, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Aiden O'Connell, and these cheap doubles, Mac Jones and cheap doubles. They're giving me access to it. Do you like them as much as I do?
This is these are some of the most volatile things you can talk about.
Correct.
So it comes down to me, like, how owned are these players? If we're playing a lot of them, I want absolutely no part of them. Because, Aiden O'Connell is an upgrade on Ridder, but how much of an upgrade is he really? At like 10% ownership, I don't have a lot of interest in O'Connell. And that's part of the reason, I don't like Richardson. Like, playing Richardson today, it feels like you need to hit like a 4-leg parlay if you're stacking him. So first of all, you're playing him right into ownership. So yeah, there's a chance Anthony Richardson has like a ceiling through the air. Extremely unlikely, about as likely as Dorian Thompson-Robinson having a ceiling through the air. But are enough people playing other things where maybe it makes sense to play that? You're playing the most owned quarterback on the entire slate. So that's where it doesn't compute with me. As far as like O'Connell goes, he's the third most owned quarterback on the slate. So, I mean, you're playing it right into the idea that, okay, this is a greasy game. It's going to be like a greasy shootout, which is contrary to the total in the game. So I don't love playing that into ownership either. And I guess on the other side, like Mac Jones is completely unowned. So maybe I'd have more interest in that side, but I'm honestly trying to bring Penix up, O'Connell down, and players like Anthony Richardson down more than anything else.
I don't have a ton to add there. Yeah, I kind of like the doubles there. I kind of like getting an opportunity to access those ceilings, but there's some ceilings
But
down
there
here.
might not be a ceiling. Like the total's telling you basically like what is the ceiling of this game?
I don't know. Is it Aiden O'Connell against Kansas City where you can target Brock Bowers 48 times and Brock Bowers is just eviscerating everybody? Or is it Aiden O'Connell of old where, wow, what did we do? Why are we starting this guy? Which I think they've probably asked themselves more than once.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you're playing it into everyone else playing it.
Yeah. And it makes me uncomfortable because I think Aiden O'Connell's the guy who got steamed up 2 weeks ago in a way that you and I and the projections just weren't expecting in any way, shape, or form. He ended up way chalkier than I thought. So maybe Mac Jones is going to be the guy I kind of access a little bit more for this game environment if we're kind of just saying, hey, it's kind of like firing up the same thing. But there's like a 4 fantasy point projection difference between the two. That's kind of the thing that's got me on the heavier Aiden O'Connell side is that, well, our projections like him drastically more. But speaking of projections, Matt, I don't know if you heard, Michael Penix Jr., who was the bane of my betting existence in the year of our Lord 2023 in the college football streets, is playing quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons against the New York Football Giants, who are terrible at football. That's ironic. Michael Penix Jr. had Jalen McMillan. He had Roma Dunze. He had that awesome tight end. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. What was his name at Washington?
Awesome tight end. They didn't really have one. They ran
He's
a
in the
rotation.
NFL now. There's a guy in the NFL now who played tight end last year. I can't remember.
At Washington?
At Washington. He had a really good Pac-12 championship game that I was at in Vegas.
I don't remember who this was. I'll
Okay.
look it up for you.
I'll find it here. But Michael Penix, 4,500. Yo.
Jack Westover? He was their tight end.
Okay, is that who I was thinking of? Did he have
You're
just a
probably
ridiculous...
thinking of Otten, who was like 3 years ago.
Oh,
His
okay.
little brother's on the team who was hurt last year.
Yeah. Well,
The
Michael
tight
Penix
ends were
Jr.
Jack Westover and Devin Culp.
Okay, Westover, who does he play for now?
I have no idea.
Whatever. Michael Penix is 4,500. Tell the people what you plan to do with the chalky 4,500 Michael Penix with all the weapons and all the land.
I'm going to play Michael Penix into ownership because he's the only one we're not sure sucks in this range. Like Anthony Richardson, we know he can't pass. He's got to get there on the ground, which is possible. O'Connell, you're playing because of matchup. Penix has like everything, and then we're not sure he sucks. He might. He's a first-round draft pick. We haven't seen any of him. But my thing is, like, how much worse could he possibly be than Kirk Cousins out there? As to the questions on how this offense functions with Penix, I don't know why you'd bring him in at this point in the season if you weren't planning on running your normal offense and airing it out. If you wanted to game manage your way with Bijan Robinson, you could let Kirk Cousins do that. Like he's not good, but he's not going to like, if you're changing the offense to be like a game managerial style, which is not what they run, then you'd leave Cousins in. So I think it's going to be the same offense. They're going to continue to open it up. Maybe they'll be like a little hesitant at first, but I don't have a lot of concerns with the offense structurally. I think it's more or less, do you think Penix is talented enough to pay off his price tag? And I think the answer is yes. So I'm going to be playing more Penix than Richardson and O'Connell for sure. Among the chalky QBs, he's by far my favorite. And then he also gives you that added bonus of salary being cheaper. Matchup is probably better than the other ones we talked about as well. Like Richardson plays Tennessee. That's a good matchup for the most part. O'Connell plays Jacksonville. It's a good matchup. But like New York Giants are one of the worst defenses in football once you take into their injuries into account. So I think it lines up pretty well for Penix here.
I agree. 4,500. He's my highest on quarterback. I don't think I'm alone in that sentiment. I'm very confused how he is not higher owned than Anthony Richardson when we know Anthony Richardson's inefficiencies. I'd almost blindly back for $900 less Michael Penix against the Giants than Tennessee's kind of had a stingy defense at times this season. Hasn't been perfect, hasn't been ideal, but don't forget about how many short fields Will Levis was giving them as well. I mean, there's so many things that Tennessee did wrong this season. I would say defense is not one of them. And so I'm surprised to see Michael Penix lower owned than Anthony Richardson. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's how it'll be when the cards flip over.
Okay.
All I've heard listening throughout the week is how much Richardson sucks and how much Penix is like hype on Penix from his college days. And another thing too, like all those receivers that are now in the NFL that he played with, a lot of them first rounders and second rounders, third rounders, all of them have underachieved. The only player we haven't seen is Penix. Is it possible he's just like a Stafford-style king-making quarterback? Maybe. The other thing that Penix has in his bag, which people are probably underrating, is he played in that grub offense, the OC for Seattle. They basically never ran him, which Penix has a lot of injuries on his history, 2 ACL tears, but he dominated the combine. So is this like he really can't run, or they didn't ask him to? Like, I think there might be some sneaky rushing in his back. I could not believe how well he tested at the combine.
He was back in Indiana, baby. He was back in
His
his homeland.
combine was wild.
Yeah, his combine was absurd. But also, special things happen with Michael Penix in Indy, I suppose. I mean, if you played college football DFS, for the people who don't know, and somebody asked me to stop bringing up college earlier, I really don't care what you think. I'm talking with like the best college football analyst that exists in the DFS space in Matt Gajewski. Michael Penix and who was his wide receiver tandem there? They were an absolute wagon in like 2020, 2021.
Westbrook-Akine was there.
Oh, that's who it was. Oh, my God. They were outrageous at IU.
I'm pretty sure they overlap when they were there.
Oh, it was incredible. But anyway, Michael Penix Jr. confirmed better at football than I was expecting. I mean, I basically bet against Washington every game last year because I thought their defense sucked, which they did. But
They didn't overlap. Man,
they didn't overlap. There was somebody else that he threw to that was just like the stack that we just played over and over again. And Michael Penix Jr. at IU, and then obviously at Washington, confirmed, worked out for him there. Favorite expensive quarterback on this slate for tournaments, Matt?
Burrow.
Same. Favorite cheap one, Michael Penix. Let's give the people a mid-range in the 6K. Favorite one there.
There's a lot of interesting ones there. I guess just to briefly talk on a couple of them that I'm interested in. Geno Smith, I'm very worried about the pass rush and their offensive line situation, and now that he's a little banged up. But man, like we're getting DK Metcalf, who I'm sure we'll talk about, below 6K. If you wanted to even use Lockett, like he's at 3.9 now. Like the prices on these pass catchers were just so eye-opening to me. You brought up Stafford. It's really hard to double stack him. I'm not afraid of the Jets defense. I would rather play him than a lot of players in this price range. And then, I mean, some of these bad QBs, I don't really see a major difference outside of matchup compared to the top, like between Richardson, O'Connell, and like going down to the bottom. Like how different is Mason Rudolph from these guys? How different is Mac Jones? But you are getting a nice break in ownership. So I am interested in, like, Bryce Young is in a good matchup. He's playing Arizona. I think spraying some of those guys, not making them a major part of your portfolio. Let's say you're running 150. All of those guys are like 3% or less. If you play 5% of all of them across the board, you're positively leveraged to the field.
Yeah. I'm just so mad at Cleveland for depriving us of Jameis Winston against Cincinnati today. It just hurts my soul. 5,300 Jameis Winston. I mean, come on. This would have been so fun, Matt.
What do you think they do? I think this is an important discussion point. Because if they have DTR drop back and throw the ball, which I think is what they're probably going to do, it seems like they're evaluating him for their backup job. If they have him throw the ball, I think he's probably the worst play on the slate. If they actually try to design an offense that maximizes his skill set, which they've never shown the willingness to do, that's him on the ground, then I think he's interesting because he's 4,800. I'm just not confident that they're willing to really do that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm debating playing either a couple lineups or just Xing him.
UCLA's finest.
What do you think?
Are we running the spread? Or are we going to be out there? Are we going to out there be an Ohio State pro style with Chip Kelly there at the helm like yesterday? I don't. DTR is such a hard evaluation. He looked so good in the preseason last year, and then this year, it's just funny that like my brain is automatically like, oh, remember how much he sucked when he got starts last year? He did beat San Francisco for what it's worth. He beat San Francisco straight up last year.
He has like the lowest yards per attempt I've ever seen. He's at like 3.9 or something.
Bo Nix had like sub 3.5 last game against the Chargers.
In a game. This is his career.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, DTR is brutality, man. He's absolute brutality. I do have 2%.
That's about where I am, and I'm debating just getting rid of it. Okay. I'm really curious. How are those lineups constructed? Are they stacked?
I have the first one that I clicked on is naked. That's cool.
Yeah, I think that's probably best.
Yeah, naked. And then I have one David Njoku. I have see. Yeah, it's basically naked or David Njoku and two
So
of them.
part of the problem is all his pass catchers are priced as if Winston's playing.
Yep. And I mean, they all they're just all way overpriced. The only reason that I'm doing the tight end thing is that tight end generally doesn't spread out all that much.
Sure.
And so if you want to try to get different with somebody to pair him with, at least he doesn't have to compete with 100 wide receivers. David Njoku has to compete with like 4 tight ends in his range, like TJ Hawkinson, Sam Laporta, Jonnu Smith. And like, there's a very good chance that David Njoku, even though his projection is much, much worse, like it's far more likely that he can end up optimal or end up being like a tournament winner for me, rather than going to like these dusty wide receivers that are not like extra dusty without Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I think you're right on that.
Yeah. I'm also right about this. Promo code Celebrate is awesome if you guys are looking to jump in and join the NFL DFS streets here before the end of the season. This is going to be running for a month, but take advantage of it now because we have week 16, 17, 18. We'll then have the wild card weekend. We'll then have divisional. We'll have conference. We'll have the Super Bowl. That's a ton of NFL weekends coming up, not to mention showdown slates such as Wednesday. Matt and I are going to be on together again for our 4th straight Christmas together, covering that slate. It's going to be very fun to be breaking down. We'll have NBA stuff going on as well. So don't worry about that. NBA will be catered to first with Josh and Greg, then myself and Matt Kajeski covering everything in the NFL streets right after that, leading up to the Netflix games. So $179 through the Super Bowl is a ridiculous deal right now. Promo code CELEBRATE to get the NFL Max subscription, to get everything we offer here at Stokastic. It's not just the NFL DFS ownership and projections and the advanced data and the top stacks tool and the boom bust probability, but the Sims, the Holy Grail, the single lineup simulator as well. So many great tools here at Stokastic can help you make money. Just look at the screenshots over at the Stokastic Hall of Fame, which I'll actually tie into this here at the tail end. If you guys want to jump in right now, $179 with that promo code is the best deal you could possibly run into here as we round out the NFL season. Stay sharp with your stuff. Use the best data that we are meeting all the time, whether it's in the NFL streets or now NBA with the minutes. We have like a daily meeting going on for that one as well. There's so much time, energy, heart, soul, and hard-earned money that goes into these projections. You guys want to take advantage of it. So check it out with the promo code CELEBRATE. And then you guys want to try to get it for free here. Stokastic HOF, that is the Hall of Fame, friends. You want to sign up over at Stokastic. Awesome. We would love to have you right now this second. But if you go to stokastic.com/HOF and you download this avatar, 5 beautiful different schemes that we have there, in addition to our natural one that we've had there for a while. So I suppose 6 of them. And you finish in the top 3 of a tournament of 5,000 or more without a massive dupe train. Well, you are going to get yourself a month of The Sims completely free. You could attach that to any sport that you wanted as well. So, hey, it's the end of the NFL season. I just used promo code CELEBRATE. Jump over into the NBA streets for a month, 100% free, just by finishing in those top 3s of the 5,000 or more tournaments. So awesome deals, awesome ways to be able to check out the Sims tool and the amazing technology we have going over here at Stokastic for you right now. And obviously you got to tweet that win to Stokastic, HOF, over on X. Alrighty, friends, to the running back position we go. And instead of going to the tippy top here with Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, let's start with Jahmyr Gibbs. There is no David Montgomery. That seems important today, Matt, because when there is no David Montgomery, I think I ironically said this last week where it's like, hey, they're playing Buffalo. You should blindly take some shots on David Montgomery or Jahmyr Gibbs, because if anything happens to one of them, the other one will smash. Wouldn't you know it, Jahmyr Gibbs decided to go smash. It wasn't even like a crazy workload. He had 8 rushing attempts. He had 5 catches. Oh, he turned it into 28.4, and now he gets to go up against the abysmal Bears defense in decent enough weather here. They're giving up over 130 yards per game on the ground. They are giving up tons of running back receiving work. I don't know what to say, Matt, other than Jahmyr Gibbs is my highest owned running back. I think he should be most everybody's highest owned running back. How do you plan to utilize a 7,500 Jahmyr Gibbs today?
Yeah, I'm going to play a ton of him. He's the best play on the entire slate. If you fade him, I would recommend playing a lot of chalk. Otherwise, there are some good running back plays that are pivots, but I think out of all the RB chalk, he is the best and the safest. Matchup is awesome. Chicago is one of the worst run defenses in the league. I think the only thing you could really poke a hole in is overall workload. Like, Montgomery is going to be out to the division round. They need to preserve Gibbs at least to some degree. How much Craig Reynolds do you see? I don't really care. I think even if Craig Reynolds is involved, Gibbs is going to be getting a boost, and he's priced as if Montgomery's in this game. So any sort of boost on top of his regular projection is already just candy for anyone playing Jahmyr Gibbs. He's an absolutely amazing play on today's slate.
I don't know how to get away from him in over half my lineups. He's there. He's going to eternally be there. I think he's the best play on the slate as well. I'm pretty flat. I don't have any like crazy 80% stands or 70% stands like I've had recently here. He's in just under 2/3 of my lineups, but I think that's still a pretty hefty stand on Jahmyr Gibbs. I think that there's just enough ceiling that surrounds some of these price ranges. Bijan Robinson, 8,100. Different situation with Michael Penix than potentially with a Kirk Cousins. Again, we don't know what that looks like, but he's 11%. I'm going to find out with some lineups. We have Chase Brown, still a game where Cincinnati is going to be competitive. Well, they're not going to just be competitive. They're favored. But I'm definitely looking at Chase Brown. He's been my highest owned running back here in multiple slates in a row. I think he's going to be right up there again here today. Not going to be at around 29, 30% where it's going to land in a lot of the small field stuff. But in large field, I'm happy to be buying in right there with the field. We talked about Gibbs already. And Devon Achane, if you haven't noticed, pretty much every week I'm playing Devon Achane. He's going to be in the portfolio yet again. You did see Mostert mixed in yet again on those third downs. That was his first game being active in quite some time. But I still think Achane against San Francisco in this game environment, I'm all right firing it up. We did get news, though, that Quinnen Williams is going to be out there for the Jets. I think that definitely upgrades the Rams a little bit. Does that help out Kyren Williams a little bit? I would think so at 7,200. But how are you looking about that the other 7K plus running backs, Matt? Who are your favorite tournament targets on today's slate?
Tournaments is where it's a little bit questionable, I think, because you have such strong chalk. The 7K running backs are the three best plays on the whole slate, probably. Like Chase Brown, James Conner, and Jahmyr Gibbs. I think it's probably a good idea to not play all three of them together unless you're getting pretty off the board. I'm talking large field tournaments here. But man, these are three awesome plays on this slate. For Gibbs, we already talked about him. For Chase Brown, he legitimately has like a historic workload. Like the best opportunity within the last 5 years in terms of just expected workload and what he puts on the field. And that's with Joe Burrow balling out of control. Like he's just not ceding any work. The baseline projection for him should be like 95% of the snaps at this point, which is absolutely absurd. We haven't seen this stuff since like Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson. Then James Conner, they have injuries in the backfield, so it should consolidate a little bit more, and you're facing Carolina, arguably the worst run defense in the league. This is just so much good chalk up at the top for running back. I like playing a lot of all three of these guys. Parsing them is difficult. And then the other players, you're giving up a ton of projection to play, but I understand it if it's the leverage point. So like Achane fits into that mold. A little worried that Mostert carried as much as he did, and Mostert has had a very good goal line role. And then if you're willing to pay more, you can always get up to like Saquon or like Kyron's in this range. Bijan's more expensive. You're just sacrificing raw projection to go up and do those things. And again, I think in big tournaments like Millie Maker style stuff, limiting it to 2 of the 3 is probably a good idea. And maybe you get one of those guys, but this is really good chalk.
Yep, he's really, really good chalk, I think. And the running backs just look outrageous. But as we dip into the 6K range, I'll also say this. Sims Tool hates James Conner this week. Like, hates James Conner. What are you planning to do with James Conner against Carolina?
I think that really depends on what you play. I ran it with, like marquee Millie Maker style stuff. I got 65% without any adjustments.
I ran between, I almost always go one to the left. I'm between the low stakes and between the marquee adjustment. And I ran it last night. I ran it again this morning. I can run it one more time here as we're talking through it, but I got like borderline 0 James Conner.
Well, these are 3 really owned players. So this is going to be sensitive to the contest you play.
Yep.
Like if you adjust the Sims tool to like more cashy style stuff, I assume you're going to just get Gibbs, Conner, Brown jammed in.
Yeah, Brown and Gibbs, you got jammed in pretty good. It
Yeah.
got away quite a bit from the James Conner piece, so I wanted to at least throw that out there. And then I made a little bit of a tweak because we'll get into the 6K range. Shouldn't surprise anybody that Matt and I are going to be on a show, and we're going to talk about a 6,400 Aaron Jones potentially being the best tournament play at the running back position. But I honestly feel that way. 65% of the snaps, basically where you're projecting him every single week. Cam Akers right around the 25% number mixing in. If you want to throw like a CJ Ham, Augustana College's finest, you can definitely do that there for 5% or something in terms of like a workload. But Aaron Jones is your locked in number one here in Minnesota in these kind of must win games. You are now looking at Detroit losing to Buffalo, and there's a direct path to Minnesota getting the 1 seed by winning out. Direct path to getting the 1 seed. This is why they've been pretty cautious at times with Aaron Jones relative to what we thought. He went through a little bit of a fumble issue here for a couple of weeks, shored up some stuff. I think he is locked in and ready to rock. 6,400 on the road in Seattle, sub 7%. I have a lot more than 7%, Matt. I'm assuming you do too.
Yeah, I love Aaron Jones. You never really had to talk me into him. You broke down the path very well. There's everything on the table for Minnesota and really everyone at the top of the NFC. I have no idea who's going to get the 1 seed at this point. It's going to play out in the next couple weeks. But Aaron Jones should be handling a healthy workload. I'm not worried about the fumbles. I like that he's a little cheaper than some of the guys at the top.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another avenue. And I think the best way to pivot off running back is not going up and playing, like Bijan or Saquon. I personally would rather flip the build and get somebody who has a ceiling on a different position, wide receiver being my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
So paying down a little bit off those 3 chalky backs is my favorite thing to do in tournaments. Aaron Jones is just a primary example of this. There are some really interesting cheap backs in this range, cheaper backs that I think are awesome for tournaments.
Yeah, let's get into them because I thought this was going to end up being a Tajay Spears slate. Well, Tajay Spears is going to have to contest with Tony Pollard and a bunch of other things going on in his life here that, it's going to make it tough to really accomplish that ceiling. We get Kenneth Walker back at 6,300. Definitely dilutes that backfield. Him and Zach Charbonnet. I mean, we had the Mega Hulk, Zach Charbonnet, Arizona spot. Kind of went a little south last time out, but Kenneth Walker at 6,300. He had been running so hot in terms of touchdowns over the course of this season. I'm not sure what to make of his workload here, but I don't think he's the guy that I really want to fire up. I'm nervous about one piece and one piece alone here in the 6 and 5K range. It is Breece Hall. I don't know what to make about Breece Hall, but we know his type of ceiling, and he's sub 5% on this slate. Braylon Allen is active, which definitely sucks to some extent. Isaiah Davis has played well here in recent weeks, but Breece Hall is 6,100, Matt. I can't bypass that number just from a salary perspective, knowing his passing game involvement at times, his touchdown expectation against, a Rams defense that has been decent at times with Verse on the edge, but I still trust Breece Hall to be able to get a majority of the touches there for the Jets. And as such, Aaron Rodgers has never tanked in his entire career, so we don't really expect that to be occurring. How do you feel about Breece Hall and anybody else you want to highlight here in the 6-5K range?
I like Breece Hall a lot for tournaments. I think you should always be searching out these uncertain workloads. Our projection team does a very good job, but projections are still very difficult to do. And you have these situations where someone returns from injury. There's a changing role. Like if someone has 80% of the routes 1 week and then they go down to 40, where do you put it? You have to make a decision on that. Breece Hall's in a situation like this where you have to decide how much you think he plays versus Braylon Allen and versus Isaiah Davis. The market gives you good proxies. There's props you can use, but it's still a situation where at 5% ownership, you can take some shots on something like this. There's a couple of these situations on this slate. He's just one of them. We'll talk about another one in Patrick Taylor. Generally, when these guys come in under 5%, it suggests the public thinks you're going to be in some sort of timeshare. Breece is not at his full role. But there's 2 things here. 1, he still might be. We don't know. And 2, he's 6,100. He doesn't need to be. So you're not dead if Isaiah Davis and Braylon Allen play a little bit in this game. It's not like he's 7,200 or even like 8,200 like he was in the beginning of the year. I think Breece is fine to take some shots on. The only thing that keeps me away from really taking a stand on some of these backs is the strength of the chalk. It's so good. Whereas with all of these guys, you're gambling to some degree. So I don't want to play Patrick Taylor and Breece Hall in the same lineup. But if you play like James Conner, Jahmyr Gibbs, Breece Hall, I think that's fine.
Okay. The
What do you
5K
think? I
range,
mean, like that.
yeah,
It's so strong up at the top.
yeah, it's ridiculous at the top. I think, trying to think of the right way to put this, because there's certain stacks like Burrow with the expensive doubles where you have to dip down here. You have to find something sub 6,500 on this slate. I think Aaron Jones absorbing most of that for me. I've got Breece Hall mixed in as well for tournaments, nearly 10% of him. And then two people in the 5K range. One that the Sims kind of brought up for me that I never would have really clicked on my own. What do you think about Tyrone Tracy today at 5,500? Because he feels like, for lack of a better term, the antichrist of that football game. Like if you're playing a lot of Michael Penix like I am, Tyrone Tracy getting like 20 carries is probably not an ideal thing, but his efficiency has definitely tapered off in recent weeks, but that was against Baltimore. New Orleans, that football game was just make-believe, but he's still got 10 targets in it. He's had a nice passing game role. We've seen Singletary at times here, but like Tyrone Tracy's been the number one here for weeks and weeks and weeks now, and he's 5,500 against Atlanta. And that defense I'm not scared of all that much. We're going to talk about Malik Neighbors at wide receiver. Tyrone Tracy's just like a great leverage play off of pretty much that entire game, if you ask me.
I think he's fine. Singletary came in and stole the touchdown last week. I wouldn't really look too much into that. Tracy still sort of dominated him in terms of on-field situational performance and role. That should remain the same. The matchup's definitely not scary. Of course, New York can't get out of their own way with their quarterback situation, and their line hasn't been great, so Tracy's always kind of in an uphill battle. But it's not like they're facing Baltimore, to your point. You're facing Atlanta, who is the worst pass rush in the NFL. Tracy's an awesome pass catcher. I think having Locke under center actually helps that. But, yeah, man, it's just opportunity cost. It's kind of the same thing as the other backs we've talked about. If this is your point of leverage, I think it makes some sense. But it's really hard to come in with like any significant exposure to Tracy.
Taylor Jr., how much of him do you end up firing up?
Right now I have 12%. I'm debating smoothing that to some of the guys you're talking about, though.
Yeah, I think you can make a case for smoothing it over to, and this is where it just ends up being flat down here for some of these Burrow stacks that I have. I have some Jerome Ford, Cleveland on the other side. DeAndre Swift, I think, is definitely hurt by the fact that Roshan Johnson's back, but it's a Detroit defense that every run stopper is hurt. Like every single guy has like an elbow injury or a lower body injury. And it's just like the walking wounded for the Detroit defense. It's not on turf for the first time in a while here for him, but still against the Bears, I have no issue firing him up. But I mean, you look at the injury page on PFF. It's like McNeil, I've been told he's a pretty good little run stopper. Rodriguez, Alexander, Barnes. That's 3 linebackers that are inactive or on IR. Just a ridiculous amount of injuries that they've had on the defensive side of the ball. I think that at least makes DeAndre Swift somewhat interesting, but I do prefer Ford at the identical tag. I just think there's a lot of guys to take random shots on. Even like, I hate Tajay Spears because I'm cheering against him pretty heavily now because of some prop exposure that I have. But 4,900 Tajay Spears, the passing game involvement, a game that they're supposed to be trailing by a little bit. Mason Rudolph there at quarterback. I don't know what to make of it entirely, but maybe they do kind of lessen the load on Tony Pollard. He did not look good, Tony Pollard, in his work. He was very inefficient. Ankle was definitely bothering him to some extent. I could make a case for firing up a little bit just for the sake in like a milli maker. Hey, I need 4,900 at running back.
I agree with that. I think Spears is interesting. You've got like a little mini parlay because you need Pollard to be injured at some point. Now he's been playing through this for a while, but it's getting to the point where he's not practicing at all and he's not even making it through games. So I think it's more likely than other weeks. Swift, I agree with you. I'm interested in bringing him down with Roshan back, and with Roshan, as a head injury. So who knows? I wouldn't anticipate Swift playing quite as much as he had before. Ford, I don't think has as much competition. Maybe this goes back towards like the early back split we saw earlier in the year, and I'm always worried about like DTR actually being used to his potential. So those are all like holes you can poke. I think I'm just going to go down and play Patrick Taylor probably more than the field here. This is a situation where he might have a ceiling in his workload. With everyone else, I think it's kind of a hole you could poke. Like They're, I think, sort of being projected maybe not towards their downside when that's very real, whereas Taylor, I think, is the ceiling. Everyone else on this roster is basically like either a practice squad fodder player or they haven't been with a team that long. Like Taylor's actually been on the roster for a while. Taylor was previously in Green Bay. He's a history with, like the LaFleur, Shanahan style stuff. Historically, they run one back. So I think Taylor's interesting and he might be projected more towards his floor, whereas I think most of these other backs might be projected towards their ceiling.
Anything else at running back? Because we have a super chat here, and I do have one omission from my pool. It is Amir Abdullah. I definitely am going to be playing a little bit of him. Ray P, $25. Can't believe I'm going here, but please rank the following: Madison, Abdullah, ETN Tank. Thanks. Hope everyone has a happy and healthy holiday. You as well, Ray P. We really appreciate that. It is insane, absurd, just downright crazy that I'm going to start with Abdullah out of those four. But I'm going to start with Amir Abdullah. Passing game role, has an opportunity coming off of McCormick going on IR, and now Madison. Kind of know who Madison is. He had been the number one there, and maybe he gets most of the carries. But in terms of DraftKings upside, I love getting to Amir Abdullah just for what that could potentially, what there could potentially be there. And if that game ends up going nuclear, if Jacksonville achieves a ceiling. And then ETN Tank, I have no idea what to make of that split. I really haven't at any point. I mean, ETN's going to get more of the passing work. Tank Bigsby's going to get more of the carries. I don't know which one ends up being more valuable there. I feel more confident that Amir Abdullah can get mixed in for a couple more carries, and Alexander Madison can sit second fiddle to that potentially. But, I mean, it's kind of dicey with all four of them. How do you feel about the RBs in Jacksonville and Vegas?
It's really hard. Vegas is favored by field goal. I almost think that's wrong. I think Jacksonville's honestly the more talented team at this point, but obviously going across the country on the road's not easy. I just have a hard time like backing Amir Abdullah and Alexander Madison when Tank Bigsby and ETN are clearly more talented. Mac Jones is clearly more talented than Aiden O'Connell. Like the team with the more talent is just Jacksonville really across the board. Upside wise, I think there's more of it with Jacksonville. I just can't do it with this Raiders team, man.
Nope, it's absolute brutality. The Raiders are...
I hope they like Shedeur.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to play some Amir Abdullah today. I hope they like Shedeur too. That
they
would
did
be
this
like
for him. So, I mean, yeah. Or Cam Ward. I don't know who they're going to take.
Yeah. I'm cheering for Aiden O'Connell today, if that counts.
I'm not. I'll cheer for you, though. If I get burned by O'Connell, I hope you're the one that wins.
I hope I am too. I really appreciate that. That's really what I appreciate about you, Matt. I also appreciate Portfolio EV. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out oddshopper.com. Right now, we've got an awesome deal where you can basically slash right in half 1 month of Portfolio EV over on your screen. It's Gift EV. That is going to be your promo code. You sign up down below and you get access to the Portfolio EV tool, which has just been printing. If you guys aren't following G. Ehrenberg DFS, my friend Greg Ehrenberg, you're missing out on free bets that he is posting every single day and tracking every single day directly off the Portfolio EV tool. There's no catch. There's no nothing. You guys simply check out Gift EV down below, less than $50 for a month of Portfolio EV, just over $2 or just what is that? It's less than $2 a day. How about that? Good math, Eric. Less than $2 a day to be able to check out Portfolio EV and get some of the top bets in the NBA and the NFL and college football, purely from a market-based perspective. And it is an awesome tool that is making money hand over fist for the likes of Greg, who's almost 6x his bankroll. I know yesterday ended up being a little bit of a rough day, but Greg has been crushing the entire season with that. We also have Nathan Joyce hanging out there in the chat, doing a great thing for Portfolio EV and showing all of his results day by day by day. Transparency, that's what we're about. Check out Portfolio EV. That is Gift EV at the link in chat or down at the link below. All right, to wide receiver we go. Going to make up a little bit of time here because we got to kind of get going, but we don't have a ton to pay down for. Obviously, we went through some disturbing options there in large field tournaments at the running back position, but every single week, feel like wide receiver just isn't what it used to be, but Jamar Chase is the exception to that rule. He's 8,500. He's a Hulk smash. Justin Jefferson, I'm going to also say kind of an exception to that rule, especially when he gets to go up against Atlanta's secondary. That was awfully fun. Nice little 35 ball that I ended up playing in cash with a sub 8K Justin Jefferson. It made all the sense. At 8,200 on the road in Seattle, a little bit tougher to get to, but I'm finding ways to Jamar Chase to Justin Jefferson today. Are you, Matt?
Yeah, when I'm pivoting off running back, this is primarily what I'm trying to do. Go all the way up to the top. I think there's a decent amount of good options up here. Like I'm interested in Nakua still. His role has been absurd at the expense of Cooper Kupp. I think Kupp in and of himself could be a decent GPP play. He's not quite in the price range we're talking about now. But you mentioned Chase and Jefferson. I think they're kind of no-brainers explanation-wise. Nakua maybe requires a little bit more, but Amon-Ra's in this range. Even just removing David Montgomery, I think this sort of helps all of the other skill position players in the offense. Even though they're a different position, when you remove a talented player, it sort of consolidates all of the opportunity to the others. Perhaps that helps Amon-Ra just a little bit. The path of least resistance against Chicago is certainly on the ground, but a lot of times that helps you shaving off some ownership up at the top with the elite players like Amon-Ra. So I'll definitely throw some darts on him as a leverage piece, but I'm actually really interested in the top of this area. It's not hard to get them if you're willing to concede one spot in your lineup, whether that's QB or running back. And they're generally coming in much lower owned than the chalk at RB. And again, this could be as simple as playing 2 of the 3 chalk RBs and then going up and playing one of the lesser owned receivers.
Love. I mean, it's just a range that I think you want to find some exposure in large field tournaments too, because they've got the 35 and 40 balls you're looking for. I think we might run into a couple of them here in the 7 and 6K range as well. I like that you brought up Nakua there. Thank you for doing such. Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, you want to talk leverage in a lineup against Gibbs where maybe he just absorbs all the touchdowns, but I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is like minus 300 or better, or worse in the marketplace in order to get in the end zone. That seems like something I want a little bit short up in my lineups. Amon-Ra St. Brown, a little bit of a luxury item, although Jared Goff, it is kind of trailing 251.5 his current passing yards prop in my sheet. So that's kind of trailed up from where it was at previous points during the course of this week. AJ Brown, we saw the squeaky wheel narrative come to fruition. Terry McLaurin, really hard point per dollar to get to him up against Philly's defense, but he is that number 1 for Jaden Daniels, a guy we didn't even bring up at the quarterback position. But Davante Adams, coming off of last week, does Davante Adams just continue to see 12, 11 targets every single time out? Because if he does, this is a Rams secondary I'm not that scared of, Matt.
Yeah, I think he probably does. I think the real question is like, what's the efficiency with it? And to your point, in this game, I'm not sure we're really all that worried about efficiency. You know, like part of the reason why they're going off so much is like they've played some pretty easy matchups. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of incentive for Rodgers to keep feeding one of his best players. So I think it's live. I don't love it, but I'm a little biased against Rodgers and these Jets guys.
I'm absolutely with you in the bias department because, well, Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. There's never been a more punchable face in the history of the NFL.
Like, I would rather play Garrett Wilson, I think. But I don't know. That's tough.
You'd rather play Garrett Wilson? Interesting. Well, he's in the 6K range.
I think, but this is a bias. Again,
I can tell you one thing. It's a $500 difference. And we've been talking week in, week out about how, hey, you know, I can't tell the difference between Adams and Wilson. Ownership is going to skew towards Adams this week. It just is. I know that we're running it without the bias incorporated, but the box score is going to get you on Davante Adams before it gets you on Garrett Wilson this week. So I don't hate that shout out, Matt. I think that that's a pretty sharp take on your part. And in the 6K range, I mean, it's all Tyreek Hill for me. I mean, 6,900 Tyreek Hill. When's the last time we saw Tyreek Hill sub 7K? It's insane. Week 13 against Green Bay, I suppose he was 6,900, but I mean, this is a great spot to fire this one up.
There's like 4 of these guys on this slate. Deebo Samuel's one of them, where it's almost, I mean, we had the same thing at the quarterback position with like Purdy and that game overall. There's a couple like sticker shock things that I'm just not ready for. So yeah, I'm going to be playing some Tyreek Hill. Will it burn me? Probably. It's burned me like at every point this season, but how do we not? No Waddle? I mean.
Yeah, we're doing it.
It's crazy.
F it, we'll do it live.
Probably justified, but crazy.
I mean, Davante Adams relative to Garrett Wilson, that's interesting. 6,900 there for good old Tyreek Hill, 6,800 for T. Higgins. Drake London at 6,400 is like that's a pretty darn easy click if you ask me. Brian Thomas Jr. 6,300. Jordan Addison's had massive ceilings. Malik Neighbors is like mega chalk and cash viable. Jackson Smith and Jigba 6K. I mean, this 6K range is ridiculous. I mean, it's almost hard for me to parse through all of them. It's more of just like I'm gonna spray the range. I'm just gonna fire up everybody in some capacity. I'm gonna correlate to a lot of my QBs. If I'm gonna play some Penix, I'm going to have some Drake London. And that was a question we had a super chat for as well. Yobi Trice 499. I'm sure you answered this, but did you pair London with Penix at all? Feel like going Bear is better, as I feel Bowers and Thomas are much better. I have Drake London. I also have some Kyle Pitts. We'll get to that at the tight end position, but hey, I've talked myself into worse situations for Kyle Pitts and playing him. I can talk myself into a new quarterback, top 10 quarterback, a quarterback who had a lot of upside in college. I'm happy to fire up a little bit of Kyle Pitts today at low ownership, because that might change next week if things go well. And that's just kind of the way I feel about that. But Drake London, he's probably your primary guy you're going to stack him up with, right?
Yes, he is. To the point on Penix alone, I did get some of that, which was a surprise because he's considered a pocket passer. Although he can run, we saw like the crazy combine. But his price, I think, also just kind of opens things up for you, where you might just find a projection gap between someone similarly priced to Drake London where it just makes sense to play them. So yeah, I'm not going to do anything limiting that, but when it's stacked, London is the number one player in those Penix stacks.
Awesome. Hopefully that helps, Yobi Trice. We appreciate you. It's called the DFS show now. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. We're talking DFS. Malik Washington or Strange for GPP? Malik Washington, I like a lot for GPPs on the cheap, but we're dipping into the cheap pieces here. We've got 5K range that also has those stickers that you were talking about, where it's kind of, wow, all right, we're getting Juwan Jennings still at 5,900. We're getting Devonta Smith, where we know the slot in Kellen Moore's offense. It hasn't been perfect at times, but 12 targets, 11 catches for 109 and a tutty. That's a pretty fun way to live your life at low ownership for Devonta Smith. These trio of Bears wide receivers, DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Keenan Allen, ridiculous. Adam Thielen in this offense. I mean, God, 5,400 Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm just going to keep clicking on until I'm blue in the face. It is what it is. And Deebo Samuel, 5,200. Just another awesome range. 5,500 DK Metcalf. There's just not a lot to say other than like, hello 5K range, click, 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 boom, whatever.
Yeah, it's not expensive. It's pretty easy to play these guys and chalk. It's not owned, which is surprising. A lot of these guys have been bad, and I mean, some of it is just QB injuries and whatever, but yeah, man, it's really hard not to click some of these players like Deebo and Tyreek and at least have a portion of them in your lineups. I'll definitely be doing that. DK Metcalf is another one below 6K. It's just like wild how cheap some of these guys have gotten. And it's honestly very different from a lot of slates we've had this year where these guys have all been priced up. So I think it leads to some actually pretty decent builds. And this is why I brought up Geno earlier. Like, all these receivers are so cheap in Seattle. There's a big mismatch pass rush, especially the Vikings versus Geno himself. But yeah, this is a great range. I have a lot of ownership in here. To break some ties, I'm playing probably more Deebo than I would like. But I mean, at 5,200, what does he really have to do? He had 7 targets in their last game. I'm playing a fair amount of Purdy, so it's not discriminating against Jennings. He's right up there as well. And then, yeah, man, I have a little bit more Pittman than I'd like right now. I'm going to fix this.
A little bit more Pittman than you'd like. Yeah. I mean, if you just run Sims unencumbered, I mean, Pittman, Downs, definitely the guys that are coming along for the ride for all of that Anthony Richardson. But let's find some real diaper dandies. And I want to bring up some guys that I'm going to be playing, some dusty dudes, if you will, sub 4K. Tyler Lockett's 3,900. Tyler Lockett's been very uninvolved, but DK Metcalf, I heard Lofty say it on the previous show. There's something going on potentially with DK Metcalf where Tyler Lockett, if he walked himself into a couple extra targets, wouldn't be completely shocked one of these weeks. Although snap count still, it's another year on the tires for Tyler Lockett, Kansas State's finest. You went to Kansas State, right?
Yeah.
Am I remembering that correctly?
You did.
All right, I got one right today. I got one right. Addy Mitchell brought him up at 3,800. Malik Washington, 3,700 for Miami. I think that he is more than viable. David Moore for Carolina at 3,600, although I'm worried because Adam Thielen being back, I don't think he gets on the field as much, but it's exposure to a 47 total in a game environment that I think should be at least a little bit interesting. And the biggie, Diami Brown, 3,400. Out of all the ownership from the World Championship from last week, I believe it was, Diami Brown was very popular amongst sharp players, and he ended up playing 61 snaps. Like, Diami Brown, he's like your wide receiver 2 right now with no Noah Brown out there for Washington. I think at 3,400, he might be my favorite sub 4K piece, which is kind of insane to say out loud. But Diami Brown, somebody is showing up a lot for me. I've got 11% of him. That's a big number for a sub 4K wide receiver. Malik Washington sitting there at 8. How do you feel about anybody sub 4K to find to save salary?
Not good, but I think it is good enough where you can spray some of them. To your point, you named a lot of them. David Moore is the one I have the most of at 4%. So as you can see, it's very much just the spray tactic. Like, I got some Crowder, which I feel awful about, but you know, like, to me, I would almost rather play guys like Yoshivas, Malik Washington, like players that might be more talented on better offenses than some of these other players that are popping up. But I mean, Trey Tucker's a name you could throw in there. You mentioned Diami. I think he's fine. Like, I got a lineup with River Craycraft. I'm not kidding. Like, it is really gross down here, as usual. I think slightly better than normal, but I'm trying to dedicate as much time as I can and attention to the range just above this, the upper 4Ks, low 5Ks. I don't think you need to dip down here all that much. This is a 150 range. Yep. That's it.
That's exactly it. Yeah, it's the 150 range for me as well. But I'm playing a lot more than 150. So here we are. We're ready to rock.
You get some of it, yes.
Yeah, Jalen Waddle officially won't play. He wasn't expected to play, so that's good. Thanks, Jay Glazer. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate you. Adric Esteem earned more opportunities. Do not care. We're talking week 16. Let's get to tight end here for the people. Hit the like button as well. Would really appreciate if we could get way over 1,000 here as we round out our show. 16 weeks up, 16 weeks down. Neither Matt or I taking days off because we are about that life. So we go to tight end. We've got Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, George Kittle. Sims tool, George Kittle. Definitely somebody that I wouldn't be playing as much if it weren't for the very keen observation that, well, McBride's going to be popular to some extent. Brock Bowers is going to be popular to some extent. But San Francisco keeps playing things straight up without Brandon Ayuk on the field. Things have been good. And also, it's been like the corpse of Deebo Samuel, one of my favorite players in the NFL. He needs to change his number back from 1 to 19. That's the way that I feel about that. But George Kittle, 6K, looks interesting. And I'm going to throw the other guys in as well. Brought David Njoku up. I have like 3 Dorian Thompson Robinson, DTR. There we go. 5,200. It's just David Njoku. I'm not playing him by himself anywhere. And then Jonnu Smith, 5,500. Really like him in those Tua doubles. What do you like for the expensive tight ends, Matt?
Expensive tight end's a little dicey. McBride's my favorite. His role is absolutely absurd. Just hasn't caught any touchdowns, which you all know that's been beat to a pulp at this point. I think Bowers is my second. Just as far as upside goes in that Las Vegas offense. Like, if you like O'Connell, I think you by default have to like Bowers. I like Bowers infinitely more than Jacoby Myers, just upside-wise. He's actually a dynamic player, whereas Myers just flat out is not. So those are my 2 favorites. I'm with you on Kittle. I'm playing more Purdy than the field, so he just comes along naturally. Plus, he's an amazing player. There's not really too much to say there. I actually have a decent amount of these players as well. It is not like previous weeks where I was just punting it off. All 3 of those guys are in my top 5 most owned tight ends.
All right, we got tons of super chats. We're going to rapid fire. You ready, my friend? Thomas Barkham, $4.99, DK, Puka, and Connor or Gibbs, Wilson, Cup. So we're talking DK Metcalf, Puka Nacua, and James Conner, or Gibbs, Wilson, Cup. Thanks, fellas. Appreciate all the shows. That, for me, is going to be number 2 because Gibbs exists.
I actually like the first one, I think, a little more.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, if you're going to, I kind of like both combinations, but I'm lower on Connor than I expected to be this week. That's for sure. Good luck, Thomas. Brandon Mahler, $2. Best wide receiver option on FanDuel, 6,600 or lower, which I think is fascinating. Obviously, we've been talking primarily DK on these shows here in recent weeks. And, you know, wide receiver, 6,600 or lower. The highest that I've got. Oh God, is it really Deebo Samuel? Nope. Thank God. It is Darnell Mooney.
He's the most. I have a decent amount of Thielen.
Okay. Thielen looks alrighty as well. 6,200. Maybe that $400 can go towards something. Good luck to you. Willie Jenkins, $4.99. Am I the only one having technical issues? I think those all got shored up. If you refresh the page, you should be able to access everything on the Sims. You've got 6 minutes. I know it's not perfect, but we got absolutely everything fixed there. It was about 10 minutes ago that I saw that got through. So 15 minutes, plenty of time. Hopefully everything goes well there for you, Willie Jenkins. Good luck. Let's get that Christmas cash. You are telling me, my friend. Chris Albers, $5. Chris Albers, favorite GPP play, pick one, quarterback, running back, wide receiver. Thanks for the hard work, guys. Pick one favorite of all of those ranges. At quarterback, favorite tournament play is my cash guy too, Michael Penix.
Penix is my favorite as well. For a player that's not as zoned, I'd say Goff.
I'd say Tua. And then running back, I am definitely Jahmyr Gibbs in everything, so I can't tell you otherwise. Aaron Jones, favorite tournament play by far.
Yeah, I mean, the big three. Outside of that, it's Patrick Taylor for me.
Wide receiver going to be T. Higgins for me.
Wow, he's a great one.
Love T. Higgins. Go T. Higgins. You'll go Cooper Kupp. Okay. Love that one too.
For tournaments.
Yep. Cooper Kupp's a great tournament play. I think he's absolutely outstanding for a tournament play. That kind of does it for us here. We got all the super chats. Awesome. Let's go to cheap tight end here because Brenton Strange got targeted 11 times and now everybody loses their mind. We have to play Brenton Strange today. Or do we, Matt?
You don't have to. There's a lot of good at tight ends, but he's a great play.
Kyle
Probably
Pitts,
the best
4K.
price adjusted play.
Is this Kyle Pitts week? Please tell me it's Kyle Pitts week.
I have more interest in it than ever before. I'll tell you that. I don't think Kyle Pitts is very good, but yeah.
Yes. Don't even worry about blocking. I just need you to catch footballs. It's not like you can block anyway.
Do that, but hopefully.
Please God. How do you feel about Jeremy Ruckert? I
don't think I don't know how you would get there.
I'm there.
You're playing Jeremy Ruckert. Okay.
Sure am. 2,600. That's how I'm getting there. Michael Meyer, 2,900. Click, click, boom. Once again.
Click, click, boom.
Yep. Calcaterra. Got a little bit of him as well.
Yeah, I don't hate any of those guys. I like him more than Ruckert.
Just makes me think of like Darius Rucker. I only want to be with you. Hootie and the Blowfish.
Yeah, I'm not about that.
It's hurtful.
It's nothing against you.
I know. Defense. Let's run out our program here because, again, we talked ad nauseum at the running back wide receiver position because we kind of needed to. Tight end, I think it's pretty clear cut as well. Stack partners and then getting some of those expensive guys as well as some cheapies rotated around in your lineups. Favorite tight end play on the expensive end, just to round that out, I suppose.
Kittle.
Yeah, it's probably going to be Brock Bowers for me when it's all said and done. Don't forget about late swap. Late swap, late swap, late swap. There are ways that you can get off of some really interesting chalk just by paying attention to your lineups. I'm looking at you, Brenton Strange. I'm looking at you. I think he's just fine to play right now, but I might have less. I'm so interested to see where Trey McBride's ownership is in this early window too, because he might be lower owned than we think. But anyway, favorite cheapie to punt at tight end.
Strange.
Yeah. Right now it's Brenton Strange. If for nothing else than being a placeholder. Defense, let's get ourselves the heck up out of here. I love the Bengals against Cleveland. They're the most popular defense. I have no problem with that against DTR based on what we've seen from DTR. But I also have a lot of interest in the late window. Raiders are really popping. 49ers are really popping. I think placeholders are good, but I'm very interested in not only Jacksonville going up against Aiden O'Connell. If we see Aiden O'Connell's ownership get up there, are the Jaguars defense good? No, they're cheap. And, it takes one play where Aiden O'Connell isn't in that lineup and you could end up walking into Yahtzee, and everybody knows 50-point Yahtzees. Those feel really, really good. And they'll round it all out. The Minnesota Vikings blitz ad nauseum. Geno Smith's been banged up. DK Metcalf's been banged up. Jackson Smith and Jigba's been pretty good. Tyler Lockett hasn't existed in recent weeks, but I like getting to them as well. Who are your favorite defenses to round out our program?
Defenses. Guess I have the most Raiders, Colts, and Bengals.
Raiders, Colts, Bengals. I know it's your favorite thing to talk about.
Yeah, I don't pay it any mind.
That's why I love you so much. Everybody, we have reached the end of our boarding walk here on Live Before Lock. Week 16 in the books. Matt and I will be back on Wednesday for the Christmas Day show. Follow me at Eric Lindquist. Follow him at Matt_Gajeski. Any final words for the people as we get out of here, Matt?
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys for hanging out with us on Live Before Lock. Hopefully you're around for the holidays. And speaking of which, I hope you guys do have a very happy holidays. We couldn't do this without you guys, so it really means a lot. Enjoy the holidays, stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you on Christmas.
If you're traveling, travel safely as well. No matter where you are, no matter where you're going, make sure that you are not texting and driving. Make sure that you are paying attention to when your flight leaves and you do not fall asleep at the terminal. I'm speaking from experience. Thank you to Jordan Klein as well. Best producer in the game named Jordan Klein, bar none. Come back here. Same place, same time as always. We've got Sunday NFL Live Before Lock coming to you with Matt Bellman and EMAC. That'll be can't miss content. Make sure you check that out as well. He's Matt. He's really cool. I'm Eric. I'm modest at best. We'll see you guys later.